Welcome back, Smite fans, to the Season 9 Kickoff Tournament. We've already had some great matchups here today. We've already had a 3-game set. We've had a jungle monster kill a player in a game. Now we just need some objective steals and all that, and we will be on easy street for checking all the boxes today. The Camelot Kings versus Solar Scarabs coming up next. But to join me on the desk to talk about this one, Trelly Rayleigh is with me. And Trelly, we've already had a pretty awesome slate of action up to this point here today. Super, super cool. In this type of format to get an early look at all 8 teams that we'll have this year in the SPL.
Yeah, definitely exciting to see some 3-game sets. Seeing everyone be able to take some games off each other. It's we're getting a good look, I think, at some of the picks that people might be thinking are going to be meta, but also on the other hand, people are definitely holding some strats back. Panicat, for example, got the same pick 3 times. He said, "I don't want to reveal too much," and it is smart at the beginning of the season. So respect.
Now here's the mindset in that, or is he revealing everything? You know what I mean? Like maybe that is the strategy. Maybe Uller is just it for PandaCat. And so it's reverse psychology at this point. You're really looking far into to the ADC strategy for the Jade Dragons. How about that matchup? Dragons versus the Leviathans. That'll be one of our semifinals tomorrow. We will fill out the other semifinal tomorrow with our next 2 matchups. Solar Scarabs versus the Camelot Kings. And then to end the day, the Tartarus Titans versus the Oni Warriors. And the winner of that one, of course, will be on the other side of the semifinals. A 2-0 to start the day. That's the Leviathans over the Valkyries. Jade Dragons take the 2-1 set over the Olympus Bolts. After, we'll call it some shenanigans in Game 1. The Jade Dragons very close to taking that one, maybe 2-0. But Olympus Bolts able to push us 2-3. So let's look at Solar Scarabs versus the Camelot Kings here, Trelly, because both teams last year make it to the semifinals of the Smite World Championship. Both teams minimal roster changes, in one case not any, for the Camelot Kings, coming in here to Season 9. In the Solar Scarabs, a team who have a roster change, Scary D in the solo lane for the Scarabs here this year. In a team I think that's so hard to predict, because the Solar Scarabs all through Season 8 were taking every team in the league effectively to 3 games and would fall just short in those 3-game sets. So I have high hopes for the Solar Scarabs team. Do you think, though, the solo lane swap, SOT to Scary D this year, will be a good swap for the Solar Scarabs team?
Given this sort of journey that the Solar Scarabs went on, right? They had Zapman, and then they lost him. So they had this veteran leadership because it was a relatively new team, and then obviously Zap leaves, and then you replace him with Stewart, a complete rookie. And now you have Scary D, who has that sort of veteran leadership in a way. He's been around for a while. He's definitely been playing Smite for quite some time. We've seen him in the Pro League plenty of times. So I do think this is a good direction for them to go, trying to get some more of those people that know the game. They know the sort of shot calls that you need to be making, when go in, when you can't go in, etc. So I like the switch up for sure. I think Scary D's got a lot to bring to this roster for sure.
Yeah, agreed. And so at this point for the Solar Scarabs, it's about building up some confidence with the team around him, because you think about like SOT and SOT's play style and Scary D and Scary D's play style. There are some differences there, and so building up around Scary D and bringing Scary D into the Solar Scarab style of play, things like that, you could make an argument might take a little bit of time to get there. But the players we've got on screen here, I think Stewart, you talk about bringing a rookie into this team, has seen serious growth as far as ADCs are concerned, and then Scream was a massive change to the Solar Scarabs roster. So much of the early game and the playmaking in the early game started to come out of the jungle. And so I think a very strong point of this Solar Scarabs team, Trelly, is when you start to get into that 3v3, support start to rotate out, Scream starts to make some plays happen on the map. That's where the Solar Scarabs can maybe find some pressure.
Oh, yeah. Scream definitely always has been looking pretty solid on this team. I think him and Inbound specifically, they bounce very well off of each other. They're both able to dive pretty effectively, get each other's back when they need to. And as long as they're doing their job, it looks very easy for the carries to follow up. It's pretty much whichever team, when the Scarabs decide to show up, that's when you get to really see these two work out together.
Well, the Solar Scarabs support has shown up here today. He's standing by now with me for the pre-game interview. Inbound, first and foremost, thank you for taking the time. Second of all, we talked about it a little bit during the check-in the other day. Only like one roster change for some of the teams in the league, a lot of the teams remaining the same. Talk to me about Scary D and how you think he'll slot into the Scarabs roster.
I mean, Scarabs is kind of like an older player than Solo is. Solo's more He's more there for a good time, and
Sure.
Scary's kind of a little bit more to the point. You want to like have good scrim, stuff like that. But I really don't think it switches too much. Solo lane isn't really a part of the game.
Sure.
Sure. We'll go with that. It's not really part
At
of the
the
game.
moment, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think it changes too much.
Understood. Talk to me about your team goals maybe this weekend, right? I mean, the SPL officially kicks off next week. What are you guys hoping to achieve here over the next couple of days?
Just to kind of warm up for the season. Like this is basically like the start of the season. It's basically just to get ready for everything else to come.
Sure. And what you've seen in the first couple of matchups, what's your take on the duo lane and how supports and ADCs are in the early, transitioning that to mid, things like that?
I think it's kind of just always been supports just trying to look to make plays around the map. ADC's just going to try to get farm, get ahead, and
Excited to see what you guys can bring for us here today, Inbound. Get back with the rest of your team, and best of luck. So the Solar Scarabs looking to just get the wheels turning to move into Season 9. I think that's a good mindset to have coming into this week, especially teams, as Inbound says, maybe there's not this massive, growth curve, growing pains, as I've even worded it. Maybe that's not going to be a serious issue with Scary D, just with how solo lane might be at the moment. But getting some free games to start to work on that, especially giving the viewers some fun stuff to watch as well, I think will benefit the Solar Scarabs. A team that doesn't have any new players to work into their roster are the Camelot Kings. And remember, this is a team that got to the World Semifinals last year. They get knocked out by the Atlantis Leviathans. And another team trail, if you talk about why some teams made changes, why other teams didn't, the peaks of the Camelot Kings were very, very high. And I think this is probably a team that sees the roster they had in Season 8 and are saying, this is a roster that could win Worlds, and they bring the whole team back.
Yeah, I mean, at some points, the Camelot Kings definitely look like the best team in the SPL. They had those things that little screws you have to tighten, little changes here, little changes there, and obviously they'd be looking very solid. So it just really depends on how confident you are with your group of guys and, can we make these adjustments? And obviously they felt confident enough to do so because they did end up staying together, as you mentioned. So I think they were right on the money there. They do have a pretty solid roster here that can, go the distance if they all play to their strengths.
Yeah, agreed. Variety out of the solo lane. We'll get to rewind the clock a little bit in his matchup with Scary D, something we got to see a little bit at the beginning of Season 8 and then didn't get to see it for a little while after that. And so I think the solo lane is going to be fun to watch between Variety and Scary D throughout the day here today. But I think both of these dual lanes will be very interesting. We've already talked to Inbound, but then you look at the Genetics and Netrioid duo lane, Trelly, and both teams have this ability to play through the dual lane at moments. And self-admittedly, during our team check-in the other day, Inbound and Stewart had talked about how in some scrims, the Scarabs dual lane has been having some trouble. So do you think maybe dual lane is an area where the Camelot Kings could pull an advantage today?
I definitely think so. I mean, the Kings are going to want to play off that dual lane specifically. I mean, they do have the, at the very least, the age. They have the veteranship in that dual lane, obviously, so they want to make sure that they're playing off that as much as they can. I mean, they've been able to pull ahead, and that's seriously where all the farm on the map is right now. As we've mentioned, there's just simply more farm on the dual lane side of the map. So I think they are going to want to focus their attention and try to get, catch Inbound out early, make sure he's not able to make these plays, not sure he's to get these invades off, and if they are able to do that, it's going to be definitely difficult for the Scarabs to react to that.
What's your main role, Trelly?
I'm a mid laner.
Gotcha. Okay, so you're not loving the fact that all the farm is in the duo. You'd love all that farm to be centered around the mid lane.
Yeah, if I could just play like Shinto does, where he just eats up all the farm on the map and just puts everyone else behind, I would do that every game gladly.
Because we lose Aggro, who's a mid laner.
Yep.
And then we immediately replace him with another mid laner. See, I'm a hunter, so I'm not very good at it, to be clear. But I don't mind sitting back in lane, farming up, and then just swinging as the game goes on. But don't worry, mid laners. We've got a spokesperson on the caster team, still for the mid lane here this year. But I like the topic of conversation there, the dual lanes between these two teams, and I think the growth that we saw in the chemistry build between Genetics and Netrioid as the year went on last year was a treat to watch. And now we've got a whole nother year to watch those two lane together, and we'll talk to Genetics right now. Pre-game interview, the support for the Camelot Kings is Genetics standing by with me. And Genetics, first and foremost, happy to have you and the squad back. No roster changes for this Camelot Kings team. Minimal roster changes across the rest of the league. Don't have to go super in depth, but give me a little glimpse. Was there ever any conversation about not sticking together going into this year?
Well, I tried really hard to lead the team, but no one wanted me, so we stuck together. And yeah, I don't know, we were pretty happy with how last year went, but with the amount of time we had as a full team on LAN, felt like we could definitely do a lot better and end up winning some stuff next year. So that's why we stuck together.
So you look towards season 9 then, and do you think you approach this year any differently as a team, or is it really just getting more LAN experience, more practice under your belt, and that's the big next step?
I think we learned a lot going into Worlds. I think especially Biggie stepped it up massively, and I think when we apply what we learned going into Worlds for this year, practice, we're going to be pretty dominant the entire year.
How about you maybe microscope me, zoom me in a little bit on the duo lane specifically between you and Netrioid. Is there anything you feel like moving into Season 9 that you guys want to improve on, or just building up that chemistry again?
Just being able to do things without comms. I think it's really important to know each other, what each other's going to do before they do it. Yep. I think a lot of duo lanes like PandaCat and Mike, for example, have that. I think when teams get 2 years together, I think they pretty much guaranteed get that. So I'm looking forward to getting that with the Road this year.
Yeah, excited to see what the Kings are able to do in Season 9. Thanks for your time, and best of luck in your first matchup.
Thank you.
Camelot Kings, a team that are returning the entire roster from Season 8, hoping to build up that chemistry and push that forward into success. I seriously can't wait, not only for the Kings and their build-up throughout this year, but just Season 9 of the SPL in general. I mean, there's, of course, always fun in the big shake-ups and all these teams getting rebuilt. And we had that a few years ago. And going into Season 8, there were some change-ups, things like that. But I think there's something uniquely fun and exciting, Trelly, about these minimal changes where you're going to get a real good glimpse at how teams can grow from one year to the next when you're able to establish a little consistency and establish some of that chemistry. And I think Season 9 could end up being one of the more competitive years we've ever had.
I agree with you 100%. I think having these teams that don't just completely drop their roster every time a bad season happens, or even a not a great season, should be said. If you don't win Worlds, it used to be you just broke up. That sort of thing was kind of the norm around here. But now it seems like these teams all realize that they have that skill, they have that talent on their team. It's just sort of, do you put in the manpower? Do you go in and grind these scrims hour after hour, and do you make the changes necessary to put together a strong roster and just work together as a unit? I think that's pretty much what we've seen here. Very limited changes. And there's a reason for that, and I think you're right. It's definitely going to be a very competitive year if everyone was able to, tighten those screws.
Right, and I think that's such a continued almost theme that I've brought up. And again, Zapman's really the architect of this. He was the one who kind of put this into my head, but thinking about it from a perspective of, it feels like every team, all of the 8 teams at points in Season 8, had high points, right? Had something to hang their hat on. For the Scarabs, it was really coming together at the end of the year, making their way to the World Semifinals. For the Camelot Kings, it was, we had to play off of LAN, remotely for half of the year, and we still came in and made it to the semifinals of Worlds. And for every other team, Leviathan's literally won Worlds. So I think for all the teams, there are these moments where you can look at and say, all right, we had these moments. These are the things we need to fix, and moving into Season 9, making minimal changes could be interesting. Of course, we've mentioned Scary D, the new solo laner here for the Solar Scarabs team. So one of the few changes that we've had in the SPL. And I'm excited, not only for Scary D. We did the team check-in with the Scarabs, and the team had sort of been talking, Scream had been talking about how Scary D felt like he really had something to prove coming into this year. So I think this is a great opportunity for Scary D to sort of show us what he's made of, get a team that can kind of rally behind him, and hopefully a good year for the solo laner.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Scary D, when he did make that role switch to jungle, I thought he was one of, if not, he was definitely in the conversation of one of the best solo laners in the world at the time.
Right.
And then he role swapped to jungle, not really because he wanted to, more so because he was forced to if he wanted to stick with that squad.
Right.
And I think that was sort of taken from him in that series, right? He wanted to be a solo laner. He is a solo laner through and through, and that's really where he flourishes. And I think at that moment he had to make that switch. It's sort of one of those spots where it's like, do I want to stick with these guys who I know can probably win? Sure, I'll try the role swap. Obviously, it didn't work out, and now he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's got to be able to prove I can still compete at the top level in this specific role.
Absolutely. I mean, Scary D has won Worlds in that role, and so now the Solar Scarabs will hope that some more of that veteranship, someone who has been there and done that. I mean, Scream is on this roster, for God's sake. So you're starting to add some more of that to the Solar Scarabs, where you lost a little bit of that last year. I think the Camelot Kings, a team that you look forward to season 9, and that guy right there, unfortunately not Biggie, the one who's sitting in the chair, but the picture hanging on the back, Big Man Tings, I think quietly put together one of the best like mid lane years we've had. We sort of flew under the radar, but such a consistent force for this Camelot Kings team, and I think getting him here, getting the rest of this team on land, playing around that mid lane is going to be a very strong spot for the Kings this year.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. BMT was kind of just always consistent. It wasn't like he was making these huge standout plays. He was always making those solid plays, always doing what he was supposed to be doing, always in the right position, which kind of gets underlooked, I would say. Like, you look for these big, Paul Silla ults, things of that nature that go in the highlight reel, but BMT is just always in the right position, always farming well, always doing what he needs to be doing. Definitely one of the best mid laners that we have right now in the league, and he's always able to perform no matter the circumstance.
Yeah, agreed. And up there in conversations with a lot of the biggest mid laners here in the SPL. Don't worry, we'll get into picks and bans for game 1 here very shortly. These two teams. I've tried to gather the sort of mentality of the teams, how much you revealing, how much you working on, things like that. I don't think teams trailing up to this point have like hidden all of their strategies, but I think it's a healthy mix at this point as far as what we've seen and what truly will be the strategy going into week 1 of the SPL versus maybe some more eclectic picks. I was really surprised with Pagon in the last set and some of the variety of picks that were there, and the Jade Dragons and their ability to mix things up a little bit with some of their draft strategy. But then I start to think about that with the Solar Scarabs and the Camelot Kings. Both of these teams feel, Trelly, like they're very comfortable with the meta and the way that things stand. That's not a bad thing by any means. But I don't know if I'm immediately assuming we're going to be seeing Assassins mid, things like that with either of these two squads.
No, definitely not. I think going off meta is definitely it's a plus and minus, but we'll finish that thought, and it's one of those things that it's just
right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we'll see what these two teams have in mind in picks and bans for game number 1. Coming right up next. Stick around. Appreciate the patience, everybody. Do not worry. Picks and bans for game 1 between the Camelot Kings and the Solar Scarabs right around the corner. And this is a matchup of two teams with high potential and hopefully teams that will be able to reach that potential throughout the year here in Season 9. P's and B's for Game 1, I promised. They're right here. So let's jump into them right now. First pick here for the Camelot Kings, the Solar Scarabs, then drop down to second pick. And I would say, Trelly, we haven't seen a massive detraction from some of the priority that we saw in like the SEC play-ins and the SPL qualifiers a little bit before that. Some more individual bans maybe, because these two teams and all the teams in the SPL really, with how unchanged a lot of them are, simply just have more data on one another. Cabrakan's still been prioritized. Umoja, I think, more prioritized in the SPL than maybe SEC qualifiers. And Inbound over time has proven that he's got a Umoja in the back pocket as well. But how about this Osiris ban? Is that something that catches you by surprise?
Yeah, that's definitely a target ban towards variety, right? I mean, Twig also does like to jungle it every once in a while, so that could be either one at this point. But with how strong auto attack warriors are in the solo lane, with how much pressure you can get, just be completely dominant in that lane, I think that's got to be a target ban. They're trying to shut down that solo lane, at least a little bit of variety. Can get ahead very quickly and create a small lead into a big one, so I think they just want to stop a little bit of that snowball there just ahead of time. Even if he wasn't going to pick it, they're just saying, you know what, we don't want to deal with it. And again, we have seen Twig have some success on that jungle as well, so a good target ban for either of them if they want to go that way.
What a world we're in, Trelly, where Chalk is ban-worthy in the first three. What an exciting time to be a Chalk fan or a Chalk player. I have frequently, very jokingly, talked about how Chalk is the best god in the game, but now my words actually might have a little bit of credence with the way that Chalk has been prioritized over the last couple of weeks. Erlong Shen, first pick, and this is something the Camelot Kings hung their hat on frequently in Season 8. Erlong Shen for setup. Captain Twig, very good on this pick. And then mid laners that are good at knocking down the damage on the back end, whether it's a Ra, whether it's a Kukulkan, things like that.
Gilgamesh
So keep your eyes open for maybe a mid lane pick in the next couple. As Ardio and Gilgamesh start off the draft for the Solar Scarabs, the front line already feels solidified.
Yeah, I mean, you have this Ardio pick that's just going to be solid on the solo lane. Pretty much is a good matchup into most people, but dealing with this Erlong, crippling that dash, making sure that he can't use pretty much his best damage tool, besides the stim on his one, obviously, is going to be pretty annoying for the jungle of Camelot Kings. I'm assuming Twig is going to be piloting that Erlong, so it's going to be a little bit difficult. Anytime that Ardio is around, you're going to have to be watching your engage at the very least. But a matchup into Cerberus as well, stealing a little bit of your healing. That's sort of just a slap fight right now. The solo lane, when you have two Guardians, you don't see too much action. It's mostly just kind of clearing the waves and healing off each other, that sort of thing. But that's the exact sort of pick that you were talking about. BMT on this Merlin, very consistent.
Yep.
Very very scary, I will say. When he gets online on 2-3 items, he's able to do some crazy things on this pick.
Yeah, agreed. Merlin and Big Man Tings, two names that feel pretty synonymous with one another. Not something we saw all that much during Worlds or even towards the end of Season 8 specifically for the Camelot Kings, but it's always that style of pick that's just in the back pocket, right? And it always feels like a Merlin can make sense in the right moments, and I think it could be a good look for Big Man Tings in Game 1 here. Thoth, though, that is something that feels directly, I'm not going to say stolen from the SEC or the SPL qualifiers, anything like that. That's just the games we've seen up to this point. And Thoth has been, alongside Agni, Trelly, as maybe the two most prioritized mid laners.
Yeah, these sort of artillery mages that can stay back and just pump out as much damage as possible from a range are heavily prioritized, especially because of how well Thoth utilizes this double flat pen build with the flat pen built into his passive. So always a solid pick, going to be able to do a lot to Merlin. However, it does struggle a little bit against this Erlong Shen. You know, getting your final judgment knocked up is always super annoying, and just being able to close that gap can be a little bit difficult. But as long as your tanks are making space, I think Thoth can really flourish in any sort of comp.
Well, Variety is just not allowed to play anything he wants to, huh? You can see Osiris, the Chalk, King Arthur somehow getting banned out against Variety. We haven't seen King Arthur in the meta in at least a year. Cabrakan, you could maybe even consider throwing that way. You could make an argument that Sobek is a Variety ban as well.
You could make an argument that all five of these bans could go towards Variety.
There's an argument to be made where Variety is just being heavily banned out. But with a Cerberus there as well, there's some flexibility. You mentioned could be Cerberus solo, could also be Cerberus for genetics over in support. And the Camelot Kings will reveal an answer to that shortly. What we do know, though, is that Cthulhu.
Yeah.
You know what?
No, I know.
You know what? This is this is going to Inbound,
Yep.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Because Inbound was willing to die on this hill. If you haven't watched the team check-in that I did with the Solar Scarabs, what's today? Thursday? Was that yesterday that I did that?
Today's Friday. 2 days ago.
Today's Friday. 2 days ago.
2
Right?
days
We,
ago.
we kind of had a pseudo day, a slow day yesterday, so my brain is melted. 2 days ago, I did that.
You ever see a gun this
And Inbound
big?
died on the hill that Cthulhu is just a better Ganesh.
Yep.
And so now he gets to put his money where his mouth is, and we'll see. Do you buy into that argument?
I definitely do not.
All right, let me rephrase it in a little bit more of a diplomatic way.
Okay.
Do you think Cthulhu support can work?
I also don't think so. I will say Cthulhu's avenues for peeling are different from his avenues of just going in and doing as much damage as you want. With Bobby's playstyle, they both sort of do the same thing, I suppose. He just wants to get in there, do damage, disrupt people. I think that's why he's falling on this pick so much. But no, I think Ganesh supplies the CC, the peel, stays back. He's got an engage. Cthulhu's just a go button. You see that Descent into Madness, you go in. It's not like, oh, he's going to peel for me when he's in this ultimate. That's just not how it works. I do not agree with Inbound in what he's saying about this pick specifically. But, he's got to...
For Inbound's sake, this needs to do well.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
He in his team wasn't bought in either. They were like, I don't know about that, Bobby. And so if this ends up going to Inbound, I don't know what else would go over to Inbound. If this ends up going over to Inbound, I know for sure he went to bat in picks and bans just now. He's like, guys, pick it, I promise.
Yep.
And so, there's a lot weighing on this one. I don't know. Now I got to break down the Kings draft, though, because an Arachne gets picked later on. I'm sure this is an Erlong Shen out of the jungle. Now it's looking like it could be Erlong Shen solo and Arachne out of the jungle. And Cerberus support. And so the Camelot Kings as well, throwing us for a bit of a loop.
I mean, there's a few different options we could see here. I think the Arachne, you don't really want to see in the solo unless you get a really solid Golden Blade value pickup. I just don't see her clearing the wave too well. You got pretty great confirm on Totem of Ku, I suppose. But besides that, I mean, her wave clear is not the best. And if she is poking you, she's not clearing the wave. If she's clearing the wave, she's not poking you. So I think it's fair to assume that's a jungle Arachne. And in which case, the Erlong, we've seen some Erlong support, lots of setup, the pin into the knockup.
No shot, your mind goes to Erlong support.
I'm just saying, we can't nail down anything at this point because there's a lot of CC, there's a lot of setup.
That's true.
Not so much tank stats, but at the very least, I think the Cerberus is fair to say it's in support, but I don't want to rule out anything.
You're keeping the door open.
Exactly.
You're keeping the door open.
Exactly.
There is possibility over the horizon. Just like, there's possibility that it's Gilg support, right? Same idea, and could be Cthulhu solo and Artio jungle. That's something Mifflin has played in the past, Artio jungle. And it's looked really, really good in Miff's hands. Artio jungle did. Actually, I think it was Artio jungle at the very beginning of the Penta clip where he was Penta-killed, if I'm remembering correctly. I think
see.
Mifflin maybe even started off that clip on Artio jungle. The funny thing is none of this even matters, and I'm just ragging on Miff for no reason because it's not going to be an Artio jungle, but could be possible, as Miff has played it in the past. Camelot Kings versus the Solar Scarabs. Trilly, before we go into game one, does either draft get you more excited?
I definitely, I think the Cthulhu itself, could be pretty difficult to deal with into an Arachne specifically. So, in that counter matchup in and of itself, I think that could be rough if this is going to be, a Cthulhu support as we were talking about.
Well, you know what? And this is very intriguing. Scary D back in the SPL, and a banned skin gets picked. Coincidence? I'm not sure. We're going to take a quick break before we get into game number one.
Se van a desvanecer. Algún día volverás tú al lado mío y yo de testigo. Vamos 1, 2, 3 sin estrés. Muéstrame sus pasos, te cuento hasta 10 y ven. Yo sé que tú quieres moverlo sin pena. Ven, sin estrés. Muéstrame sus pasos, te cuento hasta 10 y ven. Yo sé que tú quieres conmigo, amor, de todos esos placeres que brinda la vida y que nos hace tan feliz. Sé que tú quieres conmigo, amor, de todos esos placeres, como acariciarte y conocerte de raíz. Recuperé café cuando yo a ti te vi, mami. Bailabas como un ángel, me acuerdo de ese party. No lo hacías despacito, no eras como Daddy, eras como Bad Bunny, tu flow bastante cari, alright. Hermoso y con timidez me gusta, y con esa sencillez que asusta. Sabes bien cómo es que es, combi completa de cabeza a los pies. Sin effects, mami, yo te entono, te subo el pitch y te derrito el cono. En mis historias siempre te menciono, pa' esa reina necesito un tono. Sin effects, mami, yo te entono, con ese beso chica me emociono. Con tu cuerpo y tu nivel, quieres otra vez. Sé que tú quieres conmigo, amor, de todos esos placeres que brinda la vida y que nos hace tan feliz. Sé que tú quieres conmigo, amor, de todos esos placeres, como acariciarte y conocerte de raíz. Vamos 1, 2, 3, sin estrés. Muéstrame sus pasos, te cuento hasta 10 y ven. Yo sé que tú quieres moverlo sin pena, ven. Sin estrés, muéstrame sus pasos, te cuento hasta 10 y ven. Yo sé que tú quieres. Quieres conmigo, sé que tú quieres.
time's a charm, as we have remade the lobby on 2 or 3 separate occasions, and I'm going to publicly shame Genetics, the man who has picked a band skin the first time, convinced his team not to trade their roles the second time. It's all on Genetics, and so we're blaming him for this, but here's the good news. Third time is the charm, and the third lobby means that we are going into game here. At any minute, we get one more look at P's and B's Trelly before going into game 1, and I still think the deciphering we've done on the Kings draft probably ends up landing Arachne in the jungle or along Shen and Solo and Serb support. That looks like how that would end up. But I got to admit, I still have a lot of eyes on this Cthulhu support. We're assuming it'll be Cthulhu support, just because of how heavily Inbound went to bat for it.
Yeah, I think Cthulhu support is one of those picks that doesn't really have a solid early game. And late game, it probably gets worse, too, if you're getting shredded by an Arachne and a Danza. So you would have a pretty solid middle ground play style going here, I think, is your best option. And if you don't, then, you're not going to have much appeal for this Thoth or this Scotty. So you're just going to be sitting back and probably trying to just steamroll at that point.
I'm glad you mentioned Scotty, because it's something you might be able to say, well, that's just a Barra pick. Barra loves Scotty, right?
Yeah.
We saw Scotty a couple of times in our second set of the day that just happened. Now we get another look at Scotty for Stuart. Are we in a world in your mind, Charlie, where Scotty is actually a good pick? Do you think we expect to see more Scotty in the coming weeks?
I honestly hope not. I think that Scotty is my least favorite.
I hate the duo lane of the Scarabs.
Just put it out there now. The Scotty Ice, I think, is the most annoying ability in the game. But,
Okay.
In her own right, she does bring a fair bit of 1v1 potential. So I think that may be the reason you pick it. Try to get some 1v1 matchups, that sort of thing. And it brings a little bit.
Well, the good news is we are delayed no further. Camelot Kings versus Scarabs, game 1.
Now let us wait no longer to see how this all lines out. Is it going to be the Cthulhu support? The answer is yes. So we have a Cthulhu-Scotty duo lane here in game 1 of the Kings and the Scarabs. It's J-Mac, Mifflin, and Doug bring the action here. And there was maybe some confusion as to where this Erlong Arachne Serb was going to line out here, but it will be Twig on Arachne jungle. Now, Miff, you're the jungler amongst us. How do you feel about Arachne right now?
I think Arachne is better than we give her credit for, but not good enough that I would be picking her. The strength of this pick is that she is allowed very unique jungle starts. You can see that Twig has already set up spiders on those bat camps. They should be able to solo those right side bat camps, so he's going to farm that on his own. No split. Still goes mid to meet up with his red, and, well, they should be able to clear that one out too. This means that Twig should likely already be level 2, and this is exactly what you do with Arachne. This is the rank start. He's going to walk into the duo lane and get real cringe.
The Netroid is the one falling low very quickly. Inbound chasing him out. Beads already expended, but Captain Twig is going to the back line to find Stewart. No mobility, and the beads already popped out there. Stewart will not be stunned, but the spiders and the dot from Captain Twig are enough to put the Kings on the board first.
And Inbound still in some trouble. That's Mannequin Scepter. Stun connects, and Inbound will follow his ADC to the grave. The Solar Scarabs off to a very rough start over here, and Twig misses out on absolutely nothing. There's no comeback mechanic where Scream can walk into the back camps where you would normally see a cringe gank in the duo lane. You could just invade on the other side. Not the case. Arachne already did that, and she's invading. So Inbound can't even go to his own back camps for some farm because Twig already did that one as well. This is going to be a tough comeback here.
A single small Harpy left and then taken by the spiders, though. Twig now
He's done.
surrounded by 3. Should be a kill over towards
He's
Scream,
done?
but the extra mobility,
Okay.
not quite enough. Scream will be able to jump on top of his head and take him down. Finally, the Scarabs are able to bounce back off the greedy invade from Twig.
So now Scream is ahead, but the duo lane is still behind for the Solar Scarabs. Scream could try and rotate over and match some of that pressure, but not the greatest matchup into Danza Burrow.
Taunt back in by Netroid, and one more basic to take it down. The Camelot Kings duo lane is out here to play, and they've already started off with 2 kills on their Hunter and 1 for Captain Twig off that early rotation.
Yeah, and you don't really pick Scotty for her ability to play from behind. It's not exactly the best. Doesn't have a traditional mobility ability, so won't be able to escape a lot of this aggression. Doesn't have any peel coming from his support because it's Cthulhu, so won't have that going his way either. Stewart has got a long uphill battle to find his footing in this game, and what have I always said about Danza Burrow? He is the god of winning harder. The second this guy has his rocket available to him, Netroid is just going to W key. And, well, what's the answer for Stewart? Beads? And then again, what do you do after that? probably just die.
Those beads are still down for another minute. Genetics going for a solo invade, but he doesn't come up fruitful in that sense. He will lose out on stealing away the purple, but that gives Netroid an entire wave to himself to hit level 4 onto this Danza, and he can just go back and clear up his own purple buff. So far, the Solar Scarabs do have some light here, you know, with the early spill on Captain Twig, and maybe with another rotation from Scream, they can keep this solo lane ahead. Nice drop kick from the jungler of the Scarabs. Will put another one on the board.
It's a tale of two games now. Wherever Scream is, things are going well for the Solar Scarabs, and well, the dual lane it just simply is not. Not to harp on Stewart too much here, but an 0-2 start 3 minutes in, up against this very aggressive dual lane of the Camelot Kings, with Twig hovering nearby as well. It's going to be pretty hard. So, the Solar Scarabs have two avenues ahead of them. They can say, well, Scream's got a lead. Maybe he can come over and share some of that lead with our dual lane. Or what I think is slightly more likely, Scream's got a lead. He's going to avoid the dual lane like the plague.
Twig is back. A blink pass. Bead's already burned out of Stewart, but Twig is diving the tower, and he will get the credit to the kill. But once again, Scream has returned to trade fire, but it's 2 down on the Scarabs for only 1 on the side of the Kings.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to harp on Stu too much, but we are now 0-5 in this dual lane. 5 kills for the Camelot Kings, all up against this Scotty Cthulhu lane. Look, this is a foregone conclusion, essentially, where Netroid is just going to maintain pressure, especially considering Stewart just lost out on his beads again, and it doesn't even cost Netroid his own ultimate 3-0 for the Danza Burrow already. Keep your eyes on Scream. If you're a Solar Scarabs fan, it's on him.
Right now, his eyes are on Big Man Tings. Drops the Winds of Shamash and will chase out Big Man Tings, and the burst from Baronic is enough to take him down. Baronic now on the run, gets the root against Captain Twig, but Genetics with the ultimate will be enough to take him down. Drop kick, just a little shy from the stun out of Scream. And now this 2v2, Captain Twig wants to get some of that damage right back at him. Good damage out of Bobby, though, inbound here. We'll be able to turn this thing around, but Captain Twig now falling low. Scream, big damage. Drop kick just off, but now Netroid is back in with the rocket. Captain Twig goes down, though, and it's a massive swing around here in the mid.
Netroid now up to 4-0, and one of those kills being on the only one with a bounty on the Solar Scarabs. That kill on the Scream is massive for the already ahead Danza Burrow. Somehow, though, Stewart has remained level even with his opposition. Both ADCs sitting at level 6, so maybe not as doom and gloom as I once thought for this dual lane. Gold, though, heavily in favor of Netroid.
This 1v1, Stewart's winning it so far, and with the help of Inbound, should be able to get a return fire here. Descent into Madness, and Netroid should be dead under this tower. Will go down to Inbound, but Netroid doesn't land a hit onto Inbound, so that kill will only go to the tower.
That is massive for the Solar Scarabs, and we are, what is that, 13 kills in 5.5 minutes? This is a crazy pace to game 1 of this set. I think the Solar Scarabs could be pretty happy with now how this game has started to pan out a little bit. Maybe half-level lead for Netroid, but a massive gold infusion over towards Inbound. The jungler Scream still ahead as well. Soul Lane remains even, and Baronic, despite being 1-1 up against the 0-1 Big Man Tings, is only about a half level down himself, and it's reflected on the top of your screen. Gold largely equalized, experience largely equalized. The only difference right now, maybe a tier 1 item on a couple of these backs and some stacks on Transcendence for these ADCs.
Yeah, that biggest net worth disparity is just between the two Hunters right now, about 700-800 between them, but most of that gets made back up by the Scarabs elsewhere on the map. If they can find some extra damage here up against Captain Twig, will get the Nightcrawler ultimate.
Surely
Captain
not.
Twig will scuttle his way to the backline. Can he find Baronic? Baronic fires just a little bit too early, and the thought doesn't go down just yet. Instead, it's turned around, but only until Genex jumps in to get one Scream. Manages to find Variety over on the solo lane, where that tier 1 is already gone.
And we got a 1v1 over in the duo. Stewart getting active on the map. Did not realize he is still majorly behind in power output at this point. Has to use the ultimate for self-peel.
Genetics jumps in, but Big Man Tings is here. Ice Bolt plus 1 more auto will take down Stewart. And the Kings put up 9 kills on the board for themselves. 8 for the Scarabs. Not even 7 minutes in, and we are over double the amount of kills.
Man, the Stu passive is strong, though. I mean, 0-4, I'd be way further behind. Variety finds himself stuck between a rock, a hard place, and a tornado, and goes back to base the hard way in a body bag. Rest in peace. That is number 5 for Scream.
That's third death now for Variety. He just got back to lane, and he's already sent back once again. Genetics stealing some of these flowers. We'll get the beads out of Baronic. Baronic going to punish him in where with that evade and punish. And Big Man Tings will have to sit back and watch as his support goes down. But Silver lining, I guess, for Genetics. He did steal away enough to get their obelisk online for the Kings.
Captain Twig getting aggressive. Baronic doesn't have much left in the tank. Just needs to connect a couple of auto attacks, but
The
does not
evade.
get the third. Poison, no good.
Doesn't get the punish out there. Instead, he needs some help from Stewart. A blink for Captain Twig, but Big Man Ting's on the other side of that blink. He'll find Baronic, but inbound is here on this Cthulhu, swiping away, and it's Scary D from the solo lane now, picking up a kill. Netroid going for the boxing match against Stewart, throws out the rocket, and it's the AoE that takes him down, and he'll fight to the very end before it's Scary D to pick up the double.
Double kill and first impact on the match. Scary D coming up in a big way here. Now 2 levels up over Variety on the opposite side of the map. And you got to think once he shows back up, Variety will be forced to leave. Maybe an opportunity to return that tower kill if he's quick enough. And it seems like he might have that chance as long as Genex is able to stop this rotation from Scary D. But simply not the case this time. Scary D allowed to walk himself very easily back in towards this lane. Take a peek at Scream's build, though, J-Mac. That is an early Contagion pickup.
Gonna grab that very quickly. Scream thought maybe he'd jump in against Genetics there. Level 8 on this Cerberus so far. Scream level 11, tied for highest on the map with mid laner Big Man Tings, of all people here for the Camelot Kings. Then dash in from inbound, gets the ultimate out of Captain Twig. He'll have to scuttle his way back to the tier 1 tower, maybe just the other side of the map to try and get some of these camps that have respawned for himself.
J-Mac, what's the difference between like a creepy crawl and a scuttle? Like, where's that delineation at?
I think it comes from the number of legs.
Ah, so like
More
more
than-
than 6, you're scuttling.
6 or more.
How many legs do crabs have? Because they definitely scuttle.
I think they have at least 6.
So it's 6 or more. If you've
Yeah.
got, but where's the creepy crawl?
Creepy Crawl comes from less than that, and a pickup from the Stygian Torment out of Genetics will delay his life for a little while longer, but a big final judgment, a leap away from Genetics, doesn't get him very far. It's Scream to dive in and pick up his 7th kill of the game. But while all that's going on, the Camelot Kings just go ahead and take a Gold Fury.
And somehow this game maintains a dead even state. Experience and gold have not been separated so far. They have in individual roles, to be sure. 3 levels in the jungle for Scream. You've got 2 levels in the soul lane for Scary D, a tale of 2 games. And then you've got the duo lane, which is ahead for the Camelot Kings, and the mid lane, which is similarly ahead. So it really is Scary D and Scream versus the Camelot Kings.
At this point, I mean, we're sitting 25 kills in, 10 minutes of the game. I feel like we're watching the largest arena game possible with just how much action's been across the board. Pyromancer will be started up by the Solar Scarabs. That one should go their way unless Captain Twig can somehow sneak this one away. He'll blink in, and he does do it all by himself. The help of that Golden Blade to steal that one out. Genetics now closing in with Variety, but it's a 4 versus 3. Genetics is burning away at Scary D's health bar. Baronic dashes away, and very low on mana is this thought. Captain Twig in the 2v1. Can he find the damage? No, it's a big drop kick by Scream to put him down.
Got to think about that before you scuttle your way in there, Captain Twig. We'll see if Variety thought twice about his engagement. Goes into the turtle form onto Scream, only to separate that fight as Baronic falls down.
Baronic just got clotheslined by Netroid as he walks back into lane, and Genetics will find another kill up against Inbound. 3 kills in the midst of that fight, and it was the Kings who ended up starting that one, going for that Pyromancer. Now Stewart, the level 10 Scotty, doesn't have much that he can do to stop this tier 2 tower push. Maybe, though, Scary D can be the saving grace. He'll get picked up, thrown right back in, and Netroid goes for a diving, and Stewart ends up losing that trade. Scary D somehow still alive at, like, what, 50 HP? Now it's Variety who's going to go down instead.
Scream trying to keep up that chase. Genetics dropped low, has the dog on him. Stun connects. That should spell the end of this fight. If Genetics has his way, might be able to turn this one around. It's a flicker forward.
Tings goes in with the fire, burns away the mid laner. Big drop kick out of Scream, a leap in place, but it's not enough. Maybe Baronic can close this one out and finally pick up a kill here. He'll grab one final judgment to charge through. He'll have to throw it at Twig, who has to look twice now because it's Twig picking up the kill.
You might have thought Baronic was safe with the help of his support, but Inbound has no CC available. Does have a bit of damage. Not that Scary D needed the help. That is another one for the soul laner, the Solar Scarabs. 3-0-6 for him, 8-2-4 for the jungler, but Genetics keeping up his aggression. Gonna move on in towards that speed buff. The Camelot Kings and the Solar Scarabs are at each other's throats here, but still only 1,000 gold separating these two teams. But it's not for lack of trying. There's been plenty of fighting. Plenty of objectives have gone down as well. I couldn't tell you why this game is so even.
There's been nothing but fighting here in Mifflin. We were at 25 kills at 10 minutes, and in 2 minutes we added 10 more to that count here. This has been nothing but action. Netroid doesn't want to slow that one down. He'll jump in the rocket, find Stewart, put him down to half health, and take out the rest by tossing out the money bags. Another pickup here for Netroid, 6, 3, and 4.
Yeah, that's why I call him the god of win harder, by the way. What's the counterplay for Stewart there? Don't get hit by the rocket, I suppose, because his beads were down, and he had not had Aegis available to him just yet.
Simply just don't get hit here. Baronic will have to use the beads to get away from the Stingent Torment out of Genetic Scream in the 1v1 up against Big Man Tings is not winning this trade out. Instead, he'll have to go back over to his red buff, but Captain Twig does not want to let this one go. He'll blink in, he'll find Baronic, throws out the spiders, which will get Baronic a decent distance, but up on the Nightcrawler web, jumps down. Aegis good from Baronic. The healing from his team not quite enough, but Captain Twig should go down in the midst of this fight, and he will do so to Scary D, or Scream.
Thus will end the scuttling of this team fight, but it will not end the constant march forward. Solar Scarabs rallying behind the Descent in the Madness Cthulhu, who has yet to connect some CC. Knock up good. Netroid isolated and stuck between 4 members of the Solar Scarabs and will fall down. Double kill to Scream. We'll see if this onslaught continues. No neutral objectives on this side of the map, despite the heavy hover of the Solar Scarabs. What is on the map is this Tier 2 tower. Variety, going to the Soul Lane School, simply refuses to leave.
Scream will try and fight against Big Man Tings under this tower, but that tower hits just a little bit harder now, 10% more to be exact with this patch coming through.
Yeah,
Scream is really just buying some time here. Does get the drop kicks against Big Man Tings. Aegis has to be used, and Inbound will be the one to sneak the kill right out there. Scream does make it out. Variety does not, as Baronic picks up the kill.
Maybe that'll change some of your power rankings in the chat. Scream soloing Big Man Tings in his own Tier 2 tower. Inbound does walk up. He shows up, but just to sink some damage into an Aegis, and that's all Inbound does in that trade. Now 10, 2, and 5, 15 of 23 affected kills for the Gilgamesh of the Solar Scarabs.
Genetics fighting against Scream. Stingent Torment will pick up one, throw him right into the waiting arms of Netroid, but it's Captain Twig versus Stewart and Inbound, and they can't close out the kill to find Captain Twig. Blink over the wall by Genetics, and Stewart is the one in danger. Massive paralyzing spit will set up for Captain Twig to get the win, but now Scary D is here. The heal will keep Inbound alive. Baronic will have the damage to make sure that they stay alive. Netroid doesn't make it out. Final judgment from Baronic.
It's a 2-for-2 trade for both of these squads, and I think it'll end there as the Camelot Kings are not around. So we got to catch our breath for just a moment. Feel like we've been casting a lot of team fights recently, so I'll go ahead and give you the breakdown.
Thank you.
Game's dead even still, J-Mac. Back to you.
What do you mean back to me? There's nothing going on. Everybody's standing around throwing some damage at minions. Now we got Scary D rotating his way back in. Big Man Tings has the flicker. That'll get him out. And Scary D, let's talk about some of the other stuff. We talked about the contagion that Scream picked up.
Do you really want to do that?
Let's talk about the Oni Hunters picked up by Scary D instead, an item that we do not see pretty much at all for most of last year, but now seeing a very slight buff. I think it got, what, like 100 extra health to it now. Seems to be a nice little pickup here for Scary D.
Yeah, it just seems like a weird matchup, doesn't it? Like, they're not playing against the Oni Warriors, so why would you want to hunt Onis right now? It just seems like Scary D's head just simply not in this game.
That's really where you're going to go with that one on me, Mifflin?
Oh, you didn't like that?
No, I thought it was clever. That's why you got the laugh there out of me
nice.
at the very least. So you got the laugh. The Camelot Kings, this is definitely now slowed down. We were hitting like 10 kills or 5 kills a minute for a while here. Now we slowed ourselves down in these last couple. 45 kills up on the board. So I think we're still really far away from like most kills in a single competitive game here. Certainly. We're well out from this point.
Ooh, big
from Variety. He'll make it out there. Wins just a little slow. Scream pops the horrific emblem to slow down Variety, and they will just slowly chase it. That's a second one out of Scary D. Variety just wants to get out of here, but this Solar Scarabs team is not going to let him do so. Another stun right after. Variety does not get to leave this fight because all of the Scarabs minus Stewart are here.
Hey, that's pretty big value, getting 66% of the horrific emblems that the Solar Scarabs have got for themselves, so Variety can go ahead and write home about that. And he's also distracted a couple members while the rest of his team is looking towards the Phoenix. Similarly, the Solar Scarabs are objective-minded in their gameplay. Fire Giant pulled out, and Big Man Tings is going to go for the man-on-a-mission play. Can he steal it on his own? Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, he walked in and thought maybe they had it done a little bit further instead. He's looking at a near full health Fire Giant and a 4 healthy Solar Scarabs, so not so much more after walking through that ring of fire. Left side, Phoenix goes down. Stewart is back up. It's 4 on the Fire Giant for the Scarabs. No one is going to take that away from them. Instead, it's just going to be the Kings taking Stewart off the map yet again.
You know, I'm starting to realize why Stu was scared to take the 1v1 against me, man. 3 and 10 on this Scotty pick, and head in hands for the new player to the team. Well, not new. Scary D's the new one, but he's generally new to the SPL. Year 2 for Stu. Bars.
Dang, that was
Solar
nice.
Scarabs. They may have Fire Giant, but only on 4 and not on their ADC, so good luck clearing out all these structures still standing. 5 total for the Camelot Kings. And, well, we've seen our largest separation of the game so far. Camelot Kings, it's like 1,500
Yeah,
up.
1,500.
That's pretty good.
As our largest in 18 minutes of constant fighting. 50 kills up on the board. Maybe make it 51 here. Captain Twig does not get up onto the web this time around. So he will instead go to the grayscale screen for 40 seconds, sitting 5 and 11. 2 of the katanas online so far for Twig, working towards his 3rd one now.
Gotta think it's gonna be the actual meta katana this time around. You know, I mean, we'll see a stone cutting sword every now and then, but serrated edge is literally 20% penetration, plus power, plus lifesteal, plus movement speed, plus passive. So you gotta think he wants that, right? I'm keeping my eyes on it. Maybe he messes with us. It's
Maybe
like a
he
Hasten
does.
katana.
Maybe. I mean, that's the only other one he could get at this point through. Blink in by Variety. Finds 3 with the ultimate. Rocket gets cut off by Scream in the backline. Final Judgment. Doesn't find anybody else. Genex leaps in, but only to his death as Baronic picks up 1. Scary D gets BMT, and Stewart will finally be able to pick up a kill for himself up against Genetics. Variety, oh so tanky, will not be able to live for this one through, but Captain Twig, through all of it, will manage to find Stewart and crawl his way on the Infinity Web to try and find a path out.
You told me that Arachne doesn't creepy crawl,
I
man.
didn't say creepy, I said he will crawl.
Okay, well, what's the difference between a crawl and a scuttle?
We said it was the number of legs.
But
It's
her
also
leg number
it's
hasn't
also,
changed.
It's also the noises.
Okay.
There's also a noise with it too.
Yeah, what's it called? The exoskeleton, like chitin, I think it is, right? That's
Yeah.
what the weird, like
Yeah.
metal armor the bugs wear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what makes like the noise.
That's
cool.
where we get the kind of scuttle sound effects. Also, how fast those legs go. But
Okay, it's a speed thing.
it's a speed. It's a sound. It's the number of legs.
Man, where
it's
did you
it's a
go to
whole
study
fact.
all this?
High school, I guess.
Oh, okay.
I definitely
Well, you
didn't
have to
study
call me
that in
out like
college.
that. Okay.
Instead, I studied graphic design. And what am I doing with that? I'm casting Spite instead, baby.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Did you do the new UI?
No, I did not.
Oh.
That was not me. Although that new UI is pretty sick.
It
The
is, I
UI,
agree.
all of our graphics packages, that's all looking real nice here on a nice little happy birthday for Smite. If you see a skin in this game that you like, make sure to pick up some gems. 33% off.
It sure is, man. Nice plug. You're finding your home here, J-Mac. We'll see if Stewart can find a home in his own jungle.
No, it's probably going to be the Fountain. Aegis will buy him a moment.
It's only 12 deaths. That's not so bad.
It's 45 seconds till he comes back, though. Level 16. This is not me trying to be rude to Stewart, but I'm actually surprised he's at level 16 for how much he's been focused this game.
Hey, look, if you do some like quick math, he's essentially 1 in 3. If you say each kill or each assist is like 0.5 of a kill, what is that? That's like that bumps him to like 7 and 12, which is like I'm not that good at fractions, so like we'll call that like let's call that like a 1 and 2.
Well, I know that we count assist as like half of a kill, so
Yeah.
he puts him at 6, so he's at 10 and 12. So
I added 1 too many. 6 and yeah, so he's 1 and 2. That's not bad.
he's doing all right here. Scream is doing all right to live and fight back against Variety and Captain Twig. Variety just sidesteps that dropkick. A little bit of a miss there by Scream, but it's a 1-for-1 trade in the midst of this team fight as Inbound found that kill. Captain Twig will walk on out, Scream into the back, gets one with the horrific emblem, gets the beads and the Aegis out of big man Tings, but Scream on a warpath. He is going to get this mid laner by whatever means necessary, even if it's a drop kick, but unfortunately he misses Netroid with the drop kick. Netroid still goes down. That one's to Scream, and Scream will say, all right, now that you don't have any help here, I'm going to go ahead and close this one.
And here's the thing about how this is the first team fight Stu has survived. He simply wasn't in this one, but I'm going to go ahead and give him credit for it as he pushes down that duo lane. We'll see if Genetics can put a stopper to it, though. This is the longest Stu's gone without dying. Someone's got to stop him.
Don't jinx it like that. Genetics is here. Look at the build that Genetics has. That's a good bit of damage for a Cerberus, and you're going to see it through.
Nah,
That's
Stu
half
wins
health
these.
on Stewart. Stewart
Stu,
doesn't have any
stand your ground.
He doesn't have any lifesteal. What's he gonna heal off of? How's he gonna fight back? He's gonna need some help here, and that's why he called for Scary D, the big guns of the solo lane, the level 20 RDO, and now the rest of the Scarabs are here. Stewart says, I need the cavalry to arrive right now. He got it. He almost walked back into his own death.
Let's go, Stu.
But Stewart is the one to get the credit, so there we go. He got his kill.
Yeah, now he's at like actually 7-12 if we were to do the quick maths, and I'm not good enough at
When did
fractions.
Mid-Phoenix go down?
It's been a while. You didn't see that? It's like
Apparently it was a while ago. We're so caught up in everything else.
Oh, what is this? We.
My mistake. I was caught up in all the other team fights happening there. We also had the left side Phoenix go back down on the side of the Solo Scarabs because all that fighting has been going through. No one was able to keep those lanes pushed up far enough.
Stewart still hovering on the left side of the map. Thought maybe we'd see Variety and Captain Twig shut him down for the 13th time this game, but simply unlucky for all the viewers at home who are rooting, praying on the downfall of Stewart of the Solar Scarabs. I would not count myself amongst them, but I will sing their song, as it were.
What's their song?
You know, I'd just be like, oh, boo Stu, bars, and they love that. But the Solar Scarabs go ahead and pick up an objective for themselves. Pyromancer are going to fall down. Actually, fun fact, J-Mac, did you know that when you kill Pyromancer, it makes you go faster when you leave your base?
Is that true?
That's facts.
I would have never known that unless I maybe read something on like a patch notes of some kind that would have told me that. The Solar Scarabs, after getting a Pyromancer, they want a Fire Giant, but BMT has shown up to slow them down and at least pull them off the objective, but BMT's also going to trade his life out. Pironic, credit to that kill. Scary D up against 2, and I'm pretty sure Scary D thinks that he can win this one, especially now that he's got Stewart to try and help him out, but it's a rocket in, will go towards Stewart, but Stewart will juke around it, so he's going to get away from that rocket at least for now, but the boxing match between the Hunters is not going in Stewart's favor. No lifesteal to his name, and he's going to need all the help from Scary D to stay alive. Meanwhile, Fire Giant will go to the Solar Scarabs.
Captain Twig picks up Scary D, and Scream puts down Genetics this time around. But the real takeaway for all the fans at home is another team fight that Stu lives through. Good for the ADC of the Solar Scarabs, and now we're starting to see some separation in the opposite direction. Fire Giant on the ADC means that the siege is going to be a little bit easier to perform on. You've got your 4-man core still alive. Scary D actually doesn't have teleport, so the point I was about to make doesn't actually mean anything. I was going to say you can like just teleport in and start the siege up proper. Instead, though, we're going to have to wait a couple of moments. 30 seconds on the respawn for the Soul Laner of the Solar Scarabs, and the Camelot Kings can potentially make use of this time. Look at the relics. You still got a good deal of beads available to the Order side. Unless Scream can find himself a pick. Nice peel from Big Man Tinks, who will put an end to that one. I don't know. I think the Solar Scarabs can do it. What do you think?
I think they've got a chance here, especially with the fact they now have the gold lead for themselves. 4,000 separating the Scarabs and the Camelot Kings. Now, as players are starting to hit level 20, as everyone on the Scarabs has done, XP does not matter nearly as much. Captain Twig wants to at least fish for a kill, but it's only Scary D there. Variety up against 3. Final Judgment, plus a little bit of extra help there from Scream. Takes down the solo laner of the Camelot Kings, but instead, the rest of the Kings will opt to do a little bit of split pushing, or maybe it's just Netroid who wants to do some split pushing.
Yeah, surely that doesn't work. Netroid gonna try and escape. Thought maybe he could bait out Scary D by moving around weird like a leaf, but instead forced into the rocket as the rest of his team, well, they're defending the base.
Mid lane Phoenix doesn't go down just yet. They didn't have their Hunter there to help them out, and said Stewart doesn't want to be in the team fights. Hey, as long as I stay alive, if I can stay out of these team fights, we're good. He'll take down tier 2 in left side. Mid Phoenix now once again under fire by Scream, and inbound. Big ult from Genetics. Pulls both of them in. Baronic used the Aegis up against Captain Twig, but Netroid still puts the mid laner down in the ground. Stewart lives through, but only to take down one and straight out. Scream makes it a 3-for-2 trade now for the Solar Scarabs. Genetics has nowhere to go. The knockup from inbound just off the mark, but Big Man Tings is back from the grave, only to watch his support go down, and maybe only just to get sent right back in. But it's Variety with a big taunt through. Drop kick, though, will take him out, and it's a triple for Scream.
Maybe even a quadra if they keep up this aggression. Instead, always the objective-minded team. They back up, take down the Phoenix, start to work their way forward yet again. 3 versus 1 for the next 30 seconds. If they can shut down Variety, they can end the game.
Need to get behind Variety to not drop kick him into the fountain here. They will hold him out. Variety gets pushed away from the fountain. The Titan doesn't even matter here. Scream will jump in and slow down Variety.
Hey, come here.
And Variety's just buying time while Scary D and inbound, the 2 tanks of the team, start slowly whittling away at this massive health bar of the Titan. Scream has finally given up on Variety, and it seems like the Solar Scarabs are gonna try and close this one out. Variety is back in. Captain Twig is up. Titan is not out yet. Rocket from Netroid
Almost.
might just be enough to save the game out here, but they're still
little
so
bit
healthy,
more.
still so tanky. And the Solar Scarabs, 46 to 28 on the kills, will close out this game.
No thanks to Stu, though. I mean, let's go ahead and just say it. No thanks to Stu. That guy was dead for like 80% of that match. All credit. Got to go over to anyone but Stu, in my mind, at least. I don't know how you feel about that.
You know what the worst part is now Inbound just got justified in a Cthulhu
You
support
think so?
game.
You think that's what just happened?
I think he's going to go back and say, guys, I told you it would work. This is a free game.
All right. I mean, he might say that, but I'm asking if you think that's what happens.
No, I think that we just watched the largest arena game that we've seen in SPL in quite a while.
You know, I thought it was pretty cool. Personally, I liked it.
It was a lot of fun. I'm not going to shy anything short of the fun that we had, the matches that went
factor.
through, and the game that was played here for game number 1 of this set, Solar Scarabs, the ones to come out on top. And this is despite the fact that the duo lane went down like 0-5, like 2 minutes in the game.
That is crazy, yeah. Oh my God, you're right. Yeah, that is the start that Stu had. Look, I'm gonna peel back the curtain a little bit for the fans at home. I legitimately feel bad for the death segment coming up. How do they break down a game like that? What is it that they're gonna talk about? Stay tuned to find out. But if you guys want to support them, just be like, yo, Dave, you're so cool, or like, yo, Trelly, we love your casting. Just, you know, gas them up a little bit.
Well, we are going to throw it to the desk here in just a few moments, so stick around. We'll be back right after this break.
I'm not here to waste my time on yet another bad romance. Now I got hopes for us tonight, for this here thing to turn out right. So from the start, let's get this one thing clear. You should know you're looking at a self-made woman. You should know I got nothing for free in this life. None of us can know what's coming. So if you wanna be with me, baby, can't you see? You gotta make room for a self-made woman like me. first I said that I love you and you ain't say that shit back. It's kinda hard to just trust you when both your feelings don't match. Got me showing less emotions, I don't wanna get attached. Once I give you my word, I swear it ain't no going back. Once I give you my heart, you better keep that shit intact. Instead of assuming no words, girl, I'm just here stating facts. You want me to take you back, I want you to take me back. You want me to take you back, I want you to take me back. So tell me, is you gon' ride out when the chips fall? I seen too many people leave when it get hard. I'm tired of going back and forth when we pissed off. Most of my friends done went through it and they stood tall. See, they gon' try and tell you what they think is good for you. Whole time they was plotting, man, I wish they was for you. You gotta watch your back, your front, your side, they disloyal. I gotta watch my crown, cause from birth I've been royal. And that's from the soil. Yeah.
That sure was a game of Smite, wasn't it? Game 1 over to the Solar Scarabs. The Camelot Kings put 20-something kills up on the board. Just not enough to match the outpouring of kills and damage that the Solar Scarabs had here in game number 1. And so the Solar Scarabs off to a good start here with a new look in the solo lane and the team getting their feet underneath themselves. Trelly Riley joins me to break down game number 1. Trelly, first and foremost, welcome to your first example of the hardest games to break down.
Yeah.
Because this was a 60 kill, 25-minute game, and I guess the team that decided the other team last, with the longest
Yeah.
death timers, was the one who ended up winning.
Yeah, it just seemed like it was an all-out brawl.
Yeah, it was chaos.
You sort of spawn in, run to the fight. If you're dead, just make your way over. We're still brawling at that point. So all-out action fest for sure. I think Scream still got the best of most of those engagements, obviously. Looking at that
Oh my
stat line,
gosh.
did cross over that 20 kill threshold, 20 and 3. Once you get that Bumber's Hammer online, was really able to output a lot of abilities there, I would say.
You know what? Gore is keeping track of the stats this weekend. And so there are going to be some very sad players with the way that their KDAs look in Gore's stat sheet.
Yeah.
Week 1, Variety starts off 0-10 in Gore's stat sheet. And Scream starts off 20-3 in Gore's stats.
Yeah.
So some players come out of game number 1 looking a little bit better than others. Yeah, I don't know. That one's. It's hard to glean a whole lot about the way that the entirety of the year is going to look from the way that that game 1 ends up going. Cthulhu support for inbound was the pick, and it ended up looking all right. Let's see what the picks and bans look like here for game number 2. Now, I think, to be fair to us, who are ragging on Bobby a little bit,
Yeah.
I think if we can't glean very much about the way the year is going to look for these two teams from game 1, I don't think we can put a whole lot of stock in Cthulhu support being very good from game number 1 either. That's only fair, right? If we're not going to say the Scarabs are going to go 20-3 in the jungle every single game, when we can't say that Cthulhu support works every single game, I'm just going to try to take that away from Bobby any way that I can.
I can still take it
Taking
away
that back.
because him and Stewart both died at the very early on.
That's
That
true.
duo lane started off 0-2.
This is real analysis for a difficult to analyze.
I remember that specifically because I wanted to be able to harp back on this and say
right.
that not only did the Cthulhu support not look great early, which is when I said they should really get aggressive there. I think we both said that actually.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It also, but once Scream opened up the playing field and it turned into an all-around arena match, of course Cthulhu's going to look good. He's able to just put out a bunch of damage
right.
there. He's
Yeah,
able to
good.
just get his swipes off. So I think if you're taking away that early falter, then yeah,
Shingetsu,
sure, it
strike.
looked fine. But
There we go.
if
Good.
we do harp on
Good,
that, then
Trelly.
I'm still on board with what we
Yes,
said.
yes, let it flow through you. Good job. I agree with everything you say and more. Let's catch up, though, with the P's and B's for game number 2. Kamazots plus Erlang Shen for the Solar Scarabs. And so, again, it could be Kamazots or Erlang, both jungle and solo, respectively. Those two can flip-flop from what we've seen, although if 0-10 is now the standard for solo lane, maybe we're not running that one back quite yet. Cerberus, Tsukuyomi, Merlin for the Camelot Kings. And how about this? We don't get a whole lot of Neath. But Stewart, we assume Stewart, unless it's Baronic playing Neath mid. And the rest of the Solar Scarabs figure Neath could be a good pick.
Yeah, I mean, Stewart did like a lot of those magical ADCs, but ever since the ADC sort of meta changed, the dual lane meta specifically changed, I don't think we've seen too many of those slide through, but it's always an option there if he does want to fall back to that Oleron or that Freya or even Kronos, but I don't think so. I think right now the Neath, could be looking very solid in that dual lane, just being able to help out your team globally, because obviously last game, the Scotty was not having the best game against the Donza. Netroid was kind of being able to solo him off cooldown for a bit. He got very far ahead early, so the duo lane specifically wasn't looking too good for Stewart. Maybe he just wants something safe and being able to help his team. So now, once we see that Janus, that is definitely a Baronic pick, so we can pretty much safely say where that needs to go.
Yeah, I was wondering if Neath would end up in mid, but Giannis for sure goes over to Baronic. And actually, Baronic, when you think about the Giannis meta at the beginning of Season 8, where Hurrywind was playing this pick all the time, Baronic started to play the Giannis a little bit and actually looked pretty good on it. And so I think could be a strong pick for the Solar Scarabs going in to game number 2. Oh, God, Scary D popped out of nowhere. Freaked me out. I'm assuming. That was a good bit. Thank you very much. Camelot, I would assume solo lane here if the Solar Scarabs are not interested in running back the 0-10 Erlang Shen that Variety had from game number 1. And so that would mean Camelot's for Scary D if it ends up dropping down that way. I might get a little bit more clarity throughout the end of the draft here. Support Mindset and a couple of the final bans, Ari and Umoja, both taken away. And Honor for Netroid. I mean, this has been a popular Netroid pick over the years, and maybe something that pairs well with a Cerberus, as an Osiris solo lane seems more likely.
I just think the Honor, Netroid just wants to fight, man. He's very strong in the 1v1. He values his skill, and he says, hey, if I catch you alone, we are fighting. Honor is one of the best 1v1 gods in this lane specifically. You get to jump in whenever you want, look for an impale, just start sending those spears out. So I think he wants to fight, and that's a pick that does very well. Also, into the Erlang, you have a good bit of self-peel with your pillar and your impale, respectively. So I think he just wants to be able to brawl on his own, not really rely too much on his lane partner if he's going to be, just trying to fight in this lane.
All right, we're rounding out the draft here. I need everyone to pick correct skins, and I need everyone to properly slot into their character slots, or else we will have very personal words. None of the players can hear me say that, but I'm just going to vocalize it. Let's make sure we get things going here for game number 2. Serket Hubbard. Serket has received some changes here as of late, and we will get to see how Serket looks here. 25% ban rate. Hasn't been picked up just yet. Do you think Serket Trelly is in a spot to still have an impact?
They might just be a little bit worried about how she's going to translate into this as a support pick currently. I think as long as her kit still does what it does, as long as she still has complete anti-heal and crazy amounts of lockdown and early CC, I don't think we see Serket going anywhere. She could be picked up more in the jungle, obviously, but still, the support Serket, this tried and true full tank Serket build, I can't imagine it's going to be going away just yet until someone proves how to stop it.
What do you think about the overall team fight here for the Solar Scarabs? You got 9 turns Blessing, Neath some conditional CC, Yana some conditional CC, Serket some sort of conditional CC. What do you think the Solar Scarabs draft aims to do here in game 2?
It looks to me like a lot of single target damage, lots of early picks, but the team fight ultimates, not too much there. If you are going to be catching a Neath ult across the map and then into a Janus Knight, maybe as long as you're fighting 4v5 off of those things, then maybe you'll be able to just be playing these fights a little slow. That's fine, but right now the team fight ults, I'm just not seeing them for the Scarabs. It looks like a lot of single target damage. They're going to be playing a pick-oriented game, and they're probably not trying to play towards this late-game team fight aspect of the Fire Giant fights.
Yeah, on the flip side, the Camelot Kings have the Stygian Torment, such a strong team fighting ultimate there for Cerberus. Tsukiyomi, while you're not locking down immense amounts of CC in the draft, Tsukiyomi, very good with that piercing moonlight. I was coming down over here. I still think very good. Quick reaction time on my part to grab that. Tsukiyomi with the piercing moonlight Trelly, very, very good at disrupting that backline. I mean, if you're Neath, you're Giannis this game, your positioning is going to be so important. Giannis very mobile. So with that, are you concerned at all about Tsukiyomi's ability to lock down that back line, get on this Giannis on a consistent basis.
I don't think it's going to be an issue Baronic plays the pick very well, and his positioning is always solid, but as long as you're within like a solid distance between Tsukuyomi, he's going to be able to get to you and going to be able to stick to you, follow you through those portals even, so you just have to be always watching your back and make sure your wards are down, you're not getting caught out too far, because if you don't have that Aegis available, that Moonlight is going to pretty much 100-0 you in the early stages of the game, so just got to watch out. I think Baronic positions quite well, though, on this Janus pick. He wouldn't lean on it so much if he didn't know how to play it safe and well. So I think he'll be all right. Just have to always make sure that Aegis is in his back pocket.
Yeah, a different look for Captain Twig as well. And so I think could potentially be a good showing here on the Tsukuyomi. Mid lane matchup, I think, very unique here. A Merlin versus a Giannis. Game number 2, Camelot Kings versus the Solar Scarabs.
Scarabs, who started off very rough in game number 1, were able to turn it back around to close this out. And now the Scarabs are going for an invade towards this back camp. Netroid eats a lot of damage from the bats, but he will be fine. And the Scarabs will be able to hop their way on out of here. I say that, but they go right back in. Netroid once again under fire, inbound on the circuit, aiming for Genetics. Will get the pin, and the first blood goes to the Solar Scarabs. I didn't even get to introduce. It's G-Mac, Mifflin, and Doug here as we continue the action in Variety, now the one low.
It's Variety on the escape, can Scream get the last needed hit? Oh, well, it's going to go to Scary D. Either way, the Solar Scarabs up to a much quicker start than we saw last time. Can Stewart get his own revenge?
Nope.
No, it would not be a game if Stewart was not the first one dead. You know what? I don't count it. I don't count it. It's a postmortem. I don't count it.
You don't count postmortem deaths here. Well, Scary D might be postmortem himself for a while. Or postmortem kills, I should say here. Scary D will walk his way out. Scary D 1-0-1 to start this game out alongside Scream. Unfortunately, Stewart, the only one to die during that engagement. Much quicker than game number 1.
Yeah, you know, Stewart just wants to get off to a faster start, but that said, he is at least 1-1 this time, so something to his name as he rotates back in towards the lane, and also a lead for himself, considering Netroid still level 1 after clearing that purple off Stewart. Comfortably at 2, hasn't even made his way to lane yet.
Variety in the 2v2 as Captain Twig shows up, but Variety is losing this 2v2. Good disarm, good double stun, but it's not enough to save Variety's life. Captain Twig boxing up in the 2v1, gets pinned out, and it's Scary D with the double.
Yeah, Twig, you think you can do these things, but you just can't. It's like this guy hasn't seen Nemo. Easy kills for the Solar Scarabs. Now 5-1 across the top of your screen, and, well, I think we might see it slow down. I think we might see it slow down a little bit as inbound lags IRL. That's the only thing I could happen, or think could have happened right there, as he uses his first ability for purely intimidation tactics.
Just gotta do that, man. You've never walked up to somebody, just thrown an ability at nothing just to put the fear in their eye?
I can't say that I've never done that. Have I ever done that in the SPL? No, I had a pretty bad record there too. So you might be right. There might be some merit to your words here.
Hey, talk about a gold lead though. 1,400 already. Massive. By the Solar Scarabs, the biggest lead that they have seen since like 25 minutes into last game, where that was still at that point the largest lead that we had through. Genetics and Netroid will get double unraveled by the Hunter, Stewart, on this Neath this time around, and another pin. Captain Twig is back for another 2v2.
Yeah, we'll see if he thought this one through. He did not. Scary D going to put his 4th on the board in half as many minutes as Stewart feeling confident. Backflips forward. It's a kill over to inbound. Can Stewart take down the last one? Good route, but not quite enough damage. Again, those towers got a buff recently, J-Mac. They hit harder, so maybe don't tank them at level 1. The Solar Scarabs unconcerned. 7-2 on the top of the screen, and, well, maybe Genetics will follow by. Variety certainly will. Can high-five his homies in the grayscale as Genetics narrowly avoids death.
Stewart is literally just standing there throwing autos at him, not even moving up until just now, trying to really put some fear into the support on the side of the Camelot Kings. It is a Mannequin Scepter Neath,
so
and
easy.
Genetics just walks to his death, but Stewart should go down to Netroid and Captain Twig. There shouldn't be any way that he gets out. A backflip will get some distance. Captain Twig needs to land that hit, and he doesn't, and needs everything to take him down. But now inbound is back to, well, no, he doesn't have anything to fire back.
No, Captain Twig throws out the Kusarigama just in case, and in doing so, does drag himself out of position. So Baronic going to go ahead and miss that ultimate. Otherwise, you know, Baronic, he's got like the protractor in there. You'll see it if we ever go to his cam, and certainly would have connected, but simply not the case. Captain Twig, just too cerebral.
Inbound wants to stop this back, but Netroid won't allow so. Variety still fighting 2v1s on the right side. Scary D gets stunned.
He's fine.
I thought Variety may have gone down to the minion there for a moment. Scary D should be able to clean that one up. Indeed, he does. That's another one up 5-0-2 on the Camelot. Mifflin, you know what the D stands for in Scary D? Diff.
Diff?
Yeah.
Is that? Are you quoting me?
I'm pretty sure that's where that came from, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
Was that you?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't remember what I had for breakfast today. Here's the thing about how it was like 6 hours ago, and that was only noon. Good God, I have late breakfast, is what it is. Really.
Did you actually eat breakfast at noon?
Hey, look, man.
Look,
you gotta share one this.
Look, breakfast is just the first meal of the day, no matter what. Here, and Scary D's meal will be another kill on Variety. 5 deaths on the solo laner, 6 kills for the Solar Scarabs. Stewart again. No stranger to this from game number 1. He'll be dove on by 3, and the Kings will pick him up.
Yo, you know what? Big props to Stu's mental there. Every time he died in game 1, it was immediately head in the hands. This time, I saw him go through every single stage of grief over the course of about 2 seconds, and he landed at acceptance very, very quickly there, even faster than he respawns, too. Good on you, man. Mental is intact. Good stuff.
Inbound started Jotun's Wrath.
Yeah, well, of course. Here's the thing, man. Surcat can't be a tank anymore, I don't think.
Well, you can.
It's just not very good.
Not as good as
Oh,
it
he's
used to
wrong-viewing.
be. Oh, he is doing so. Well, right now it'll be another kill on Variety. He is no stranger to this experience. Actually, that Lord of the Afterlife just gets him out, if maybe only for an extra moment. I think he had that back if he would have just committed to it. Instead, it's Inbound who gets the kill in the tower. Or kill Inbound.
Man, the towers really do swing.
MVP out here.
Pre-patch, I think Inbound just lives that, but that additional % damage starts to add up, especially with the exponential increase per shot. I don't know why I'm doing actual analysis or like math right now. Instead, I'm going to talk about something easier. Captain Twig, give me something here. Yes, a fight. It's not. Nope. They didn't land anything. Either of them. Not a single one of them.
Hey, tier 2 or tier 1 tower over on the left side for a tier 1 that just got traded over on the right side of that. What was it? The tier 1 solo lane tower was the fastest tower to fall on average. I think that was that graph we had last year.
You talking about Blues Ultra?
I don't know if it was Blues. I know we did it on like one of our pregame shows. Something. It's like 20 minutes. It's the average time that a tier 1 tower will live through. It's usually that solo that goes down first. It gets traded with tier 1 in left. And Stewart, no stranger again, having to sit under tower as 2 or more people are inside of his lane.
Yeah, why is Netroid ahead all of a sudden? I guess this is why, right? It's these dives here. Stewart in some trouble, but a nice shot for Baronic. Collapsed both of them and finds the double kill. Good stuff, man. That's the god of portals and transitions, and that's why he picks it. I mean, Charlie went in depth on how Baronic can like position really well, and like he plays that assassin role on the edge of the team fight. What Charlie wasn't accounting for, and you know we won't hold it against him because he's new, is that Baronic will just hit his abilities. He just hits those ultimates, and that's why he picks that god.
Scary D picked up by the Ultra Genetics, slammed right back down, but Inbound is here. Double Cobra's Kiss, and the Bat out of Hell to make sure to help try and secure that kill out. Variety sweeps into place. And that will be his own demise. Inbound credited to the kill.
Genetics leaps in aggressively. Probably shouldn't have done that considering he's completely alone. One more auto should confirm it, but it's Netrioid with the jump over the wall and an impale to nearly save the life of Genetics. Scary D will eventually be credited for this kill, and has Captain Twig stepped up too far?
The answer is yes.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, no. Captain Twig walked up, and that was the last thing that he got to experience was a pin into death.
What about Net? You think he's going too far?
He is probably too far. He does still have jump. Good taunt by Inbound. Leap in place, though. And maybe Stewart can get something here if they can get Netroid low enough. Not quite. Baronic will be needed to clean up the kill.
Easy enough. 4-0-3, 7 affected kills for the Solar Scarabs mid laner, as Variety has gotten sick of the solo lane, if we could even call it that this match, and instead has decided to join the favorite pastime of all the Camelot Kings, which is bullying Stewart. I'd argue that Stewart doing a little bit more of the bullying here, as he tosses out the first ability behind him and does not have backflip currently, so can't close that gap. Variety, he might have made it out alive. If he wants to. He could walk back in and die if he so chooses.
He could, but he spots Inbound on a ward, and that will be enough to cause this Osiris to quiver in his boots and walk away. Or maybe he doesn't even have his boots now. He's already shed those with the help of his passive. Inbound gets stunned out by the tether, and Inbound may have now been the one to step too far with the help of Genetics. Inbound should go down here. The Harpy will make sure to help get that kill, but Stewart does manage to find BMT.
And Captain Twig is locked eyes with Scream in the jungle. Piercing Moonlight connects very well, but only lands him next to Captain Twig, or Veronic rather. I'm getting lost in these team fights, man. I don't know how you chair ones do it. Both of them died.
They did
at
both
the end
die.
of the day. That's awesome, man. That's really cool. Variety in some trouble here. Will ult aggressively straight into Stewart. Again, that's the favorite pastime of the Kings. They love to bully this guy, but maybe unsuccessful. Sickle, no good, and Stewart credit for the kill this time around. And we're at what are we at? What is that? Like 31 in 9 minutes? We're on world record pace.
We're at a 3 kill a minute pace at this point.
That's
so
good
far.
math. Are you sure?
A little more than 3 technically. I'm not going to go into the decimals on this one.
If you wanted to.
I'm not, let me grab my calculator. I can get you the exact one
Oh
here in
my
a
God,
moment.
he pulled out a TI-85 from his back pocket. That's nuts.
I wasn't fortunate for the 85s. I was a TI-83 kid back when I was in high school.
They make those still?
I don't know if they make the 83s anymore.
I don't think I've ever seen one.
You haven't seen the 83s? The difference on the 83s and the 84s was the color, like the color display. I think that was like the only main difference. Maybe like an extra function or two there.
I could play Mario on my calculator. Could you do that?
No, I couldn't do that. Mine wasn't that high tech enough.
Yeah.
Instead, I could just like draw pictures with like parabolas and stuff like that.
I haven't heard parabola in so long. You just unlocked like a core memory in my brain. That is super unfortunate. Shouts Mrs. Webb. Thanks for teaching me Algebra 2.
I'm going to be honest, I don't remember my Algebra 2 teacher's name.
Did you not respect her? What is this?
No, I did not respect him that much. He was not the nicest of people.
Oh, well, I find that math teachers are often the angriest teachers.
Mrs. Bell, my geometry teacher, was pretty cool.
Okay, so
she gave us Fridays off on homework. She never required us to turn in homework on Friday. And right now, Scream is going to need to cash in some extra health to try and stay alive. He will not make it out as Captain Twig, but Stewart making sure to be a part of these fights without being a part of these fights. These Spirit Arrows, these World Weavers coming out from him have been so impactful for his team.
Yeah, a global ultimate that does damage and stuns. Who'd have thunk you could find some application for that? Captain Twig should go down here. If he's lucky, he'll take Veronic with him. He is unlucky this time around. Genetics was able to watch as his jungler died on from a distance as he finds the pull in. Scary D, though, has Bat Out of Hell available, will do so only to close gap. I thought mistakenly that he'd use it to escape, but instead decides to get aggressive, maybe wrongfully so. Oh, no, Veronic hits those. We knew that. Well, don't even pretend to be excited like you haven't already read the script for this match. Yeah, he lands those, and that buys the time for inbound to close gap, and then eventually they're going to shut down Genetics. I'm going to peel back the curtain.
See, look, that was on page 3 of the script. I didn't get there yet. I was still finishing out page 2 of that one here. So I'm going to have to read a little bit further ahead as we're approaching 12 minutes in the game and nearly 40 kills at this point up.
How far off with 40 are we?
We are 1 kill away from 40.
All right, who do you think the 40th death is going to be?
The 40th death won't be Netroid this time. I'm going to say I'm going to say Variety.
When in doubt, stew it out, man. I think it's got to be
I don't know.
stew.
Stewart's 6-4 compared to 0-10
Total
on
combined
Variety.
KDA for the set.
I still think Variety might actually be worse at this point.
No shot, right?
Variety did not have a great game 1 as far as the stats were
All right,
concerned.
you convinced me. Variety dies next.
Maybe it would be Captain Twig for stepping too far. No, Variety's getting chunked by Scary D alone. Scary D in the 2v1 doesn't have Bat Out of Hell. He's got Scream as backup, but Scream's running from the 3 strong of the Kings. Piercing Moonlight in by Captain Twig, right into Veronic. Captain Twig will be the one to go down. It won't be Variety, but maybe it'll be Variety right after. Slowed down, no ultimate. And we were maybe just 1 short on the gun here. He'll fall through the portal and right to his death.
Who did you call for?
I almost actually said Captain Twig, and then I swapped to Variety. Maybe I should have stuck with my initial call.
You should have.
Always go
not
with your-
maybe. You literally should have.
I should have. I should have stuck to my gut feeling on that call there. Genetics picks up inbound, I should say, jumps over the wall, and Veronic will go through that same wall.
And you know what? I think the next death is going to be Netroid. No, Stu. No, Variety. I'm locking it in now. Where are you going?
Going right back to Variety.
Yeah, I think so.
You know what? I'm going to go back with my initial gun. I'm going to say Captain Twig.
You're going to go with Captain Twig again? No way he dies again, right? Like, in this whole match, no shot.
Not again. Well, certainly not to level 10 inbound right now, who's 3 levels down compared to Captain Twig. I thought we were going to see a Gold Fury start up here by the Scarabs, but no.
Why would they?
Why care about objective? Let's just get some more kills up. Let's add to even more here as we're up at 42 at this point.
Oh man, I just realized that neither one of us has been like doing analysis work, so I'm gonna go ahead and like lightning round it.
All right, what do you
The
got?
Solar Scarabs are ahead, a lot, experience and gold. Thanks, Doug. And those are the exact numbers, and that's my job. The Camelot Kings, they could do stuff to come back in this game if they tried, and the Solar Scarabs, if they are really good, could make that not happen. So let's talk about another team fight. Gold Fury pulled out here by the Chaos team as Inbound sets up his camp. You're gonna pitch up a tent, lay out the campfire and get ready. Maybe Genetic steps too far up, or maybe it's Netrioid.
Maybe it is Netrioid. Maybe you were right on your initial gut call. Netrioid
Hold on,
and
where's
Genetics
Variety?
do steal away the Gold Fury, but it is Netrioid. We need to stop second-guessing our calls here, man.
All right, so I'm gonna go with Variety. I'm gonna go ahead and switch it up now. It's probably. I'll take Twig. I'll take Twig for a death.
Dang, you're going to go back to Twig. You're just going to hold on to
Yo,
the
we
Twig
keep
calls
guessing
here.
Kings. What's up with that?
Well, so far the Scarabs have been doing a lot less dying comparatively. Scary D will jump away from Genetics, level 14 Camazot's Aussie first item on the Camazot's. I just looked over and noticed that
Well,
a
Zatman was
moment
doing
ago.
it, so it's got to be right.
Right, but he was doing that on a Hunter.
Okay. Why you gotta blow up Scary D's spot like that?
Look, I mean, if he's 10-2, I can't knock the man for the build that he's going here.
Agreed. So why are you doing it?
I'm just saying. I'm just pointing out the
Just
fact that
saying.
he had an Aussie out there.
You know what?
My curiosity was piqued by the Aussie Camazot solo.
Here's the thing. He's gonna auto attack people a lot, and he's gonna lifesteal now when he auto attacks people a lot.
True. Very true.
Truer words never spoke.
There's probably been truer words that have been spoken.
Name one.
You know what?
You a word fan? Name a word right now.
Name a word. Yes.
God, you're such a yes man.
Pyromancer here by the Camelot Kings, and that'll be their second objective that they've picked up here after stealing that Gold Fury away earlier on. The kill still reign true for the Solar Scarabs, 32-12. The gold, though, has slowed itself down a little bit. Solar Scarabs don't have that near 6K lead that they had only minutes ago. And pulling the Fire Giant with 3 of the Kings in tow. They couldn't get the gold. Can they get the Fire Giant at the very least?
Ooh.
Genetics finds 3 with the ult, only ends up throwing Scary D. Captain Twig goes to the back line and Inbound dies to the Ring of Fire from the Fire Giant, which hasn't been leashed, by the way. That's still going through. Scarabs do manage to get this Fire Giant, but the Genetics and Variety, well, at least Variety in this case, will start by going down. Big Man Tings after. Genetics jukes the pin, but not the damage from Baronic.
Who died first? I missed it.
If I'm looking at kill timers
Well,
here,
but they're all different levels, man. We don't know.
Twig, I believe, was the first one down there.
Did I say Twig?
You did.
Oh,
Actually,
let's
no.
go.
Technically, it was Inbound. He was the first one to die in the whole thing. He died to the Fire Giant ring right before it all, right before the 4-man death on the Kings.
Well, unfortunate. The Solar Scarabs going to maintain their push here into the Phoenix, see if maybe they could take out this not permanent objective, but semi-permanent. There's no such thing. That's not semi-permanent means that it's temporary. Netrioid leaps in aggressive, only to die to scream moments after, but does at least buy time for the rest of his team to respawn and walk towards their deaths, I can only assume.
Stewart up against Genetics, but he's level 18 this time around.
Okay.
Finds a double
Okay.
root, finds Captain Twig, but he doesn't have the backflip. And Baronic doesn't have through space and time, one of his rare misses so far this game.
And they are rare, by the way, because my man has landed every single shot except for the ones where he did not. And that will be in the did not column. Inbound and Scream, they're around. They're hovering nearby. Big Man Tings certainly taking notice at this point. Let's go back to the game. This is my favorite game, I think. Who dies next?
I'm going to throw...
Chat, go ahead and get involved. And
Are we starting a poll in the chat now?
Well,
with
I'm not
this
going to
one?
start a poll,
Well,
man.
we can't.
Yeah,
well,
I'm casting.
yeah, I'm not able to start
This
the
microphone is so heavy.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't even know how to start polls on Twitch. I don't
It's
think
probably like-
I don't think I've ever started one before.
So anyway, type who you think's gonna die, chat. This just in for production, and he said it with the most venom in his voice that I've ever heard.
So
It is
condescending.
/poll. That's exactly what production sounds like. Variety in some trouble is what I would say, but his up down has convinced me of his righteous aggression and then unconvinced me because he's walking away. Scary D has gone up and done a lot more
Stuart.
damage. Can Stu get credit for the kill?
Yes.
Absolutely. This time, Genetics, though, will have to go over towards Scream, and the Solar Scarabs put their 40th on the board.
Captain Twig might make it 41 if he sticks around too much longer, and it will be 41 now for the Scarabs. Inbound, gets hit by most of the spears from the Desert's Fury out of Netroid, but now that Stuart has shown up, a nice jump in place to go over the Spirit Arrow, and a Beads will go through, and that'll be a pop from the ultimate there as Netroid goes down to Inbound.
Dude, Netroid almost legitimately just styled on Stuart. I think if Inbound had not ulted there, Stuart might have just died, but the woulda, couldas, shouldas, we could, play that game all day. The game that I'm more interested in playing is who dies next. Chat, get in the comments, let us know. I think it's Genetics.
Gonna go with Genetics here. I'm gonna say Variety as he makes his way back
Oh,
from
I didn't
the
know
gate.
Variety was going to be
Grayscale's-
alive.
Yeah,
I'm switching.
No, you can't switch now. You
Okay,
can't,
well,
you can't
all right,
double
fine.
back. You already locked in, and then I threw my guess out there.
Fine.
But Genetics walking forward to 5 may expedite that potential of him dying out here. 42 to 15.
Get in there, Genetics.
Variety. Good lord, he just got clipped by Stuart alone there. Scary D eating some damage from this Merlin. Big Man Ting's level 18 on this
so
Merlin.
big.
4 items deep into his build. Got some good damage on this Merlin so far. I say that, but then I looked over at the player damage chart, and he is second to last, just barely ahead of Inbound.
Well, you got to think that all his damage is effective damage. When Big Man Tings goes on somebody, they die. He's not going to waste his mana on poke. Oh yeah. Yeah, let's go.
You may have been right on Genetics here. Inbound.
Dude.
We'll get the ultimate through. Portal will hold out, but Genetics walks away and sends Variety into the back line alongside the rest of his team.
No,
Netroid jumps in, and it's
dude.
Stuart who goes down first in the 5. Variety goes over the wall that Baronic so gracefully walks through. But Variety now stuck in this 3v2. Baronic grabs Variety and Netroid, and a bat out of hell from Scary D gets him away from the rest of the Kings.
We'll see if the rest of the Kings can get away from the Solar Scarabs. It's Captain Twig left alone and isolated. Piercing Moonlight back in to deal some damage before he falls down, and will eventually fall down. Scary D, credit for the kill this time, as Inbound has made the long rotation, can't connect his CC or his damage, and will go ahead and leap his way out of there. Big Man Tings, is he out alive? One in the chat if you think Big Man Tings lives.
I thought Inbound was going to die just to the damage from the Blizzard alone there. He's ate every instance of damage from BMT. Inbound makes it back. BMT and Genetics both live through this fight, at least for now. But it's just going to be 2 on the defense. Right side Bird did go down way back when. I mean, 2 minutes ago, it feels like. It probably is actually close to 2 minutes if I'm reading the wheel correctly there. And for now, the Camelot Kings will hold out Solar Scarabs with an 8,000 gold lead here, 21 minutes in.
What do I say now? You did I wanted to talk about the gold.
I know you did. That's why I said it first. Now find something else.
Joke's on you. 13 now. Make that 14.47649 experience separating these two squads. Thank you very much, Doug, for the ammunition of my caster gun. Camelot Kings are behind. I'm looking at you for confirmation. Do you agree?
Yes.
Cool.
Camelot Kings are behind.
But why are they on fire?
But they're starting it. Genetics ate the damage from the knock-up there, but the Fire Giant still going down nonetheless. Baronic
they got it.
will transport his team towards the Fire Giant
Massive.
pit, but the Camelot Kings do come up with the objective here. But Captain Twig goes down. Inbound finds Genetics, who gets a big ultimate onto 3. Stuart gets stunned out. Genetics may just be out, but Netroid is not.
Variety leaps in aggressive into the 3 core of the Solar Scarabs. Fire Giant will go a long
Stuart just
way
styled on
in
him.
making sure that Stuart gets himself a triple kill. Can it become a quad? As Big Man Tings is hovering nearby. It
Quad.
will. One more.
Genetics.
Genetics, stop hiding, you coward. Step up to Stuart, who has got 0 game sense. Does not know that Genetics is running at him. Take the penta, fool.
Stuart solo here. Genetics is 2, but Genetics gets enough healing to stay up and alive. Stuart not going to get
the taunts.
the penta this time around.
Oh my
the
God,
dancing
Stu.
taunts out of Stuart. Then you can't just taunt him and then miss your first ability. Scream will blink past, and Scream says, well, if you're not going to get
Penta.
it, delayed penta at the very least here. Rampage for Stuart, 5 in a row. Meanwhile, Inbound and Scary D decided that they were going to go ahead and just end this game and put the Kings out of their misery. You would say that. But Netroid and Captain Twig hold on and keep it in there a little longer.
I stood up for this, J-Mac.
You
You
did.
made an end call, and I stood up.
I thought it was going to be an end call because there was 2 of them batting at the Titan, but now the Phoenix is back up. The Titan is going to start regenning, and the Camelot Kings hold us out for a little while longer.
Do you know off the top of your head how many kills were in the most kills in an SPL game? I think it was like 90-something.
No, I think it was over 100.
Okay,
I want to say it
well.
was like 120 or something like that.
All right, J-Mac, I'm going to teach you the first rule of improv. It's yes and, all right? You got a yes and. Yes, it was 90 and like another 20. That's how you tell me no improv style. That's how you say 110, okay?
You know what? You're right. It was it was 90 and a little bit more.
Thank you.
There you
that's
go.
That's all I wanted. The Solar Scarabs.
We're not at 90 yet though.
No, well.
But we're getting
Oh
close
wow,
there.
we're not at 90.
We're
You're right.
we're
at
getting
70.
closer, but not quite 90.
Yeah, if we could just get the Camelot Kings to like double their kills, we'd be at 90. You know, we get 1 more Kings in this game.
That was one of the most cursed games of SPL because it holds so many records that we'll probably never see again. It was like most kills in a single game on one player, most kills in a game in general, and even more beyond there. Genetics doesn't make it 51 for the Scarabs here. We'll still hold the 50 for now, but nobody is going to turn around. And notice the Cerberus, Netroid, though, will be the one to make it 51.
Congratulations, Netroid. You've made history as the first time that Netroid was the 51st kill for another team. Congratulations, and good night.
BMT can make it 52 inbound with his full damage support circuit. Should take down the mid laner, but
You think
Captain
so?
Twig is going to crash that party and instead make it 21 now for the Camelot Kings. Meanwhile, Stewart and Baronic will go ahead and team up with the rest of the Scarabs to take down the right side Phoenix. And why stop at the Phoenix, Mifflin? They can just grab Variety while they're here.
Yeah, especially if he ups downs exactly like that. Slow's good, but the door has been open. Variety had the opportunity to walk out. Instead, nearly dies to the damage. Captain Twig actually kills Baronic on the other end as Scary D is now chasing forward. Captain Twig was looking mighty juicy, but not going to be the target of aggression this time. Instead, the Solar Scarabs, ever the clinical team, ever the squad to play slowly when necessary, will go ahead and reset for like, I don't know, 15 more seconds until inbound respawns.
I want to see where Stewart fires this next World Weaver because he's got the full one-shot build out here. He's charging.
He's been there for half an hour.
He is ready for that shot. He wants I think he wants Netroid specifically to walk up and take that hit.
Why? Why do you think that?
Because he got bullied by Netroid and the rest of the Kings last game.
Well, if he got bullied by Netroid and the rest of the
Plus,
Kings.
it's your direct lane opponent, man.
Okay, I see what you're
If you
saying.
can one-shot your lane opponent, that's the play.
I want to give Variety like 20 deaths. You know, that's where I'd be at mentally if I were on the Solar Scarabs. But
We're getting close.
I could see where you're coming from. Yeah, you're right. But now Variety is level 20. Somehow, miraculously, despite being 1 in 15, Variety has accomplished what the entirety of my ranked teammates have failed to do, even in hour-long games. Actually hits level 20. So it might be a while till he finds his 20th death because his respawn timer is pretty long.
Wasn't SOT who made like the rank thread of like the number of games where people go like 1 in 20 and then still end up winning those kinds of games?
Yes, and I'm not sure.
Okay. Captain Twig and the Kings pushing up left and
the ult
mid
happens.
to try and keep this action going, to
Did it
try
to
and
Twig.
find anybody. Captain Twig's half health, left side Phoenix, and no health here as soon as it goes down now. Camelot Kings have taken a
Oh,
bird
big shot.
off the map. Baronic just off the mark of hitting Captain Twig. Netroid has to push inbound away, and the Desert's Fury will not find a home.
Backflip aggressively, does not connect the Spirit Arrow, and instead may have bit off more than he could chew. Genetics credit for the kill onto Stewart. Baronic pays it back in turn. Inbound will pick up Netroid as Scream decides to get aggressive, trying to separate the fight and create space for his mid laner. He does so in exchange for his life. Now it's Baronic, Scary D, and inbound, holding up the core for the Solar Scarabs. 3 versus 2 situation, but the 2 of the Kings are incredibly
my
healthy,
God.
is what I was about to say, until Big Man Tings was eviscerated, removed from the map by Scary D as Variety. He takes another one, takes a little bit more. Baronic, not quite enough damage to just do it in 2 shots. Needs some help from the rest of the Solar Scarabs. 3-man core still alive. D aside onto the Camelot Kings.
You know what the D in Scary D stands for now?
Diff?
Double. Because he got the double kill
Wow,
in that last one.
I wish the camera was on your face so they could see how proud you were of this moment.
Just like the Solar Scarabs are proud to finally close this one out. and they will get the 2-0 victory over the Camelot Kings unless they decide to grab one more kill as a consolation prize. But with the help of the minions and a kill there, the Titan will go down, and the Solar Scarabs will close out this set.
Congratulations to the Solar Scarabs who get to move on in the tournament. Best of luck. I'm not sure if the other teams are going to make it as easy for them.
I don't know if the other teams know what to even expect at this point. Are they going to get this Scarabs, or are we going to get the Scarabs that we saw during
it's
Worlds?
curtains, man. It's curtains if they get that. That Scarabs had 57 kills.
They went crazy this
They're
set.
nuts.
I wonder how many kills total they got. It had to have been over 100 for these guys total between those two.
Yeah, for sure.
You know who didn't win? Camelot Kings. No
yes.
More, no more balloon for them. Well, at least I'm
Was
not,
that the King's balloon?
That was the King's balloon. Unfortunately, we're not allowed to pop the balloons, Mifflin. That's why I didn't pop it. I just threw it here. Solar Scarabs, they
Did
win.
you just me like I'm a dog? What?
It has been one wild set out here in Mifflin. The Solar Scarabs, they get their win here in Game 2. We're going to kick it over to the desk to try and break down that set.
Problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back. Tell me I'm garbage, I'm going through something. That's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression is all that I wanted. The phone and affection, I summon it double. Cause I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back. Tell me I'm garbage, I'm going through something. That's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression is all that I wanted. The phone and affection, I summon it double. Why you be all on my line about nothing? Why won't you go get you $1 or something? Don't hang with it, who line for nothing. I see that we different, you riding, I double. I don't do discussions on bragging about hundreds. Don't go to your places, I know that they sunken. Don't call me your brother, I barely could trust you. I talked to a shorty, she bagging the bucket. And I'ma need all of my dollars on corporate, so hand me the money, I give you the pot. I'ma give all of my people a portion to build them a fortune on flipping the ride. I can't be mixing when iffy the vibe. And 40 on 50 is really the time. Why are you all on my phone like you want me? Like you wasn't pushing the kid to the side. I don't know. You thinking I'm blind? Cross on my crosses and doubt on my eyes. Done with your efforts, I'm dealing with pressures. I know it's a lesson, that's word of the wise. Dubbing the mixes I'm mixing. I know I've been missing. I needed some personal time. All the pictures, dimensions. I don't what you did this. I mean it, I'm staying inside. Check out. Problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back. Tell me I'm garbage, I'm going through something. That's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression is all that I wanted. The phone and affection, I summon it double. Cause check out.
I don't know why I can't get you out my mind. Yeah, so lost, where do I go? I was in the chase, caught a flat on road. It was all love, X no O. I was feeling rich, but we turned out broke. Guess I let my feelings take control. Guess I let my demon take the wheel. Used to think that we be growing old. Now I can't believe that it was real. It was back in late December when I did it. I just wish I could forget. Cause I hate how much I love it. Oh, I hate how I just love to catch a feel. Yeah. I've been wasting my time. I don't know why I can't get you out of my mind. And if I find a way to get it, when I do it, I can live it and forget. Cause I hate how much I love you, or I hate how you just put me in my feelings.
Guess I let my feelings take control. Guess I let my demon take the wheel. Used to think that we be wrong.
Didn't need a game 3 to solve this one. The Solar Scarabs in 2 straight games knock out the Camelot Kings. And it is a good first look for the Solar Scarabs here in their Season 9 roster. Apparently they're doing a lot of killing this year on the battleground of the gods. Like we devolve a little bit here in this set, and we're approaching 60 kills in both of these games. But hey, it's the Solar Scarabs who win them back to back. Charlie, we had a hard time breaking down game 1.
Yeah.
I don't think game 2 is much easier to break down in this regard. We'll say we had some fun.
Right.
Can we agree on that? We had some fun.
I think that's the easiest way to say it. There was definitely
No shot that the Camelot Kings are walking in here. Variety, did you get a single kill today? Did you? All right, you got one. You can put one candle on your cake, and you can walk out with a piece of cake. There you go. Thumbs up for me. You've earned it at this point. Yes, we had some fun here in this one, Charlie. There's always something interesting, when the games just kind of spiral and they're very high kill.
Yeah.
Those are often they're the hard ones to break down, but I think there's some fun ones to cast. Unlucky we weren't the ones casting that one, but I don't know, Charlie. The 2-0 for the Solar Scarabs. How much do you really pull from a set like this?
Baronic snipes are still on point. At the very least, his Janus isn't rusty. We saw some across the map bangers from him, obviously. Scary D got to put on a bit of a clinic this time. Scream, took over game 1. I think they kind of let just Scary D pop off game 2. Obviously, Stewart on the full damage Neath. Sending those ults across the map, that doesn't take too much skill, but he looked good. His target selection looked about as good as it can on a pick like this. And for me, the highlight was those Baronic snipes, honestly, the Janus pick. He still has a Janus, folks. That's what I took away from this game.
Who did Stewart in game 1? He got what? Scotty?
Yeah, we don't talk about game 1.
We don't talk about the 6 and 13 Scotty?
No, he was getting soloed a bit.
No, but the good news is we then have the 16 and 7 Neath on the back end and 23,000 damage as far as takeaway goes. But hey, Solar Scarabs move on, and they'll be playing one of the Tartarus Titans or the Oni Warriors moving forward. If the point of the set was to warm up and dip your toes into Season 9 of competitive Smite a little bit, the Solar Scarabs were able to do that 2-0 over the Camelot Kings. The man who had a horrible game and then a great game, Stuart, standing by with me. Stu, winning this set. Place it for me in your hierarchy of achievement. World semifinals or beating the Camelot Kings 2-0 here?
Beating the Camelot Kings, definitely. 100%. Without a doubt in my mind.
Without a doubt. How important was it in your mind? You go 6 and 13 on Scotty, right? I mean, and this is just brutal game 1. How important for you was it to get the 16-7 Neath game there to back it up.
You know, in the middle of game one, Scrim was like, "This might go for our KDAs," and I was like, "Hey, I gotta do some fixing here." So
That's right. Yeah, smart man. I will ease your mind. I don't believe we are collecting as a company these stats. Like, it'll officially start next week for week 1. But I think Gore, who does, his own personal stat sheet, may be keeping track.
he should maybe keep those out.
Right, just for next week, we'll worry about that. You got at least one more set this weekend, depending on how the next one goes. Oni Warriors versus the Titans. How do you think our next matchup goes? You leaning either way?
I think I'm going Titans 2-0.
Titans 2-0, says Stuart. Well, congrats on the win. Looking forward to you guys playing more this weekend.
Thank you.
Sure thing. Well, for everyone's sake, the KDA's not adding up into week 1 of the SPL after a set like this. I did give Variety a little bit of flack. He wasn't worried about it, though. The 1-kill set with we were approaching, I think, triple-digit deaths. Just kidding. We were getting closer to 50. The Camelot Kings didn't show us much here in this set. The Solar Scarabs able to knock them down 2-0. And I do then start to look forward to our next set here, Trelly. The Oni Warriors up against the Tartarus Titans, because these are two teams. Again, if you kind of look back, the rosters largely similar from what we saw last year, and I think the Solar Scarabs could have a pretty fun matchup into one team or the other. So, in the first matchup our first example of the Solar Scarabs that we get here in Season 9, a 2-0 victory for them, and at least we find out that they're able to pile on some kills if the game's turn there. So, I think we can move on past this one and maybe start to consider some of our next matchups that we have here. Do you, in your mind, feel like the Scarabs match up particularly well into one team or the other, whether it's the Titans or the Oni Warriors in our next set?
For me, it really depends on which Oni Warriors team shows up. We've seen that they're able to compete at that level. They're able to take sets off a lot of these teams, but it really just depends on, what gameplay they bring that day.
That's true.
If they play to their team strength, or, do they play their opponent's game and lose, it really just depends. So I think if we get to see the Oni Warriors that we know that the skill level they usually can bring, and that to play to their roster's potential, it's going to be a difficult game for any of them, for sure. But
agreed.
I think if the Scarabs, I think maybe just I just want to see the Layers matchup again. I think we all do. It's just a fun time at this point. They have so much history. So that's the matchup I'm rooting for, just for that reason, not picking one team or the other.
Yeah, a lot of history between these two teams, as well as the new solo laner for the Tartarus Titans, who's SOT, there could be some intrigue in there as well. And so if you're looking purely at history, the Tartarus Titans have a little bit more with the Solar Scarabs. But we'll decide between the Titans and the Oni Warriors who's going to play in that second semifinal matchup up against the Solar Scarabs. I think equally intriguing, though one team had a roster swap with SOT going into the Titans, and the Oni Warriors are unchanged. I think they're still growing for both of these teams to do, where the Oni Warriors now get a full year on LAN, and the Tartarus Titans have some time to work out with their new solo laner. Tartarus Titans versus the Oni Warriors, our final set of the day, coming up next.